This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, here we are on January the 14th, a month away from Valentine's Day, folks. I'm pretty sure my guest is looking forward to that. Folks, here we are. We got an interesting guest on the show today. I come to know him through my interview with Anthony Camano, who I had on for the second time on New Year's Day. This is a peculiar individual, a guy who had some physical setbacks in his life, but yet, being a champion he is, goes full force, not only embracing his hardship, but laughing in its face and still winning all the gold medals for it. Folks, I give you the awesome and non-filtered Crippled Cody. How do you do, Crippled Cody?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
You know what? I'm glad to have you, yeah, I first caught wind of you, and I think it was through Anthony Camano, and I think Rob Mahoney uh, had a link for something that GoFundMe or something.
Yeah. I have a GoFundMe that I sometimes will ask my friends to share.
Hmm.
I probably would have asked you to share it too before the end of this episode, so don't worry.
Well, you know what? You can put it on here,
I
no
appreciate it.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob, I know Anthony. I used to do a show with Rob, and I'm often invited to Anthony's shows. So yeah. And this is my
Well,
first time being on someone else's show who I don't really know that well. So it's brand new.
I come to know you, like I said, through Anthony, and it was cool to have him come on here, and he's kind of had my back whenever I had some issues with 13 Fanboy, but nonetheless, I always enjoy talking because I let people say what they want to say. I love it when I have somebody come on here that's got no filter, and you've had your massive challenges in life, but yet you're able to merge forward with your personality, your charisma, and your just willingness to say fuck off, more or less, to your disadvantages. How did you arrive at that spot?
Well, it didn't happen too early in my life. I did go through a time period growing up where I felt sorry for myself. I also went through a phase of hating on any kind of creator that you believe in or anyone believes in. I went through that phase. I went through this phase of calling myself an atheist. And then I just went through this phase of I'm just mad because I can't get a girlfriend and all that type of shit. I don't think it was up until maybe my early 20s when I realized, like, you know what? Not only is this not a negative, what I live with, I can turn it into a positive. And it's actually a lot more simple and easier than you might think. All you got to do is just change your attitude. When you change your attitude, you change your aura about you. And if you change that, you change people's perception of you. And as soon as I realized that that could work, I realized that I could spread it like wildfire. And before you knew it, I was getting all of my friends and acquaintances comfortable with me. And then it turned into, holy shit, not only is this not a bad thing, not only is this a good thing, this is a very unique opportunity that I have in life to have this personal identity of myself, this way of thinking about me that I can turn into a very positive thing. It doesn't have to be, the word crippled doesn't have to be derogatory. Talking about disabilities doesn't have to be a depressing, down on your luck type of thing. I could turn it differently. And that's what I started doing starting in my early 20s. And I just started realizing that all I got to do is just look at life just a tad bit different than everyone else does who's able-bodied. And every so often I have my bad days, as we all do. But for the most part, I'm in a positive mood no matter what life throws at me. And, here I am in my mid 30s and I'm still the same. So, I think if anything, like getting older in life, I'm becoming more happier because now that I'm getting older, I'm wanting less and less all the things that I couldn't get in the beginning, because of my disability. Now it's just like, well, I'm kind of glad I didn't get any of that. For an example, like, when I was younger, I always wanted a traditional relationship. Well, I realized getting older, I'm not a kid person. So I don't want no kids.
Hmm.
I don't believe in marriage. I just don't. I know other people might, but I personally don't. I think
I
marriage is
don't
a trap.
want kids either.
No,
I,
kids are a fucking trap, and marriage is a farce. That's
mm-hmm.
just what I think. And I'll tell you this is honest to God truth. I've never in my entire life known anyone that got the traditional lifestyle of getting married with kids who are legitimately happy with their own lives today. No one. Yes, they love their kids. Yes, they love the family photos and the Facebook ornaments that they can post on social media, pictures of them and their kids and their wife, their fat wives, by the way, and shit like that, but they're not truly happy with themselves anymore, and that is something I never wanted for myself. I want to be free. I want to be free to do what I want, and at the end of the day, I'm disabled. No child deserves to have a parent that's physically disabled, in my opinion. I don't think I just don't think disabled people should want kids in general.
You know what? Your answer reminds me of my turnaround. You see, I don't have a disability, a physical disability, but yet I was down on myself. I had a low self-esteem growing up. Part of my problem is to this day, I'm 50 years old, never had a girlfriend. Never had a girlfriend. That used to really piss me off. Because, boy, I see a lot of ugly guys out there with hot girlfriends. Or you see guys that mistreat these girls and they just keep going back to them, you know?
Right, right.
And I used to be physically abusive to myself. I never attempted suicide, but I used to talk about it a lot. But I'm going to tell you what happened is that I have a couple of friends here. We used to go to the nightclubs a lot, you know, and you got all the beautiful shooter girls and whatnot there and whatnot, and I remember one night, me and one of my buddies went to the all night Tim Hortons here for coffee and just hang out before after the nightclub, and he was complaining about the kind of girls that were hitting on him that he wasn't interested in. And I looked at him and he had under the light and he had like cat hair all over his clothes. And I'm like, you look like you were mauled by Chewbacca, you know? But here's the thing. We were just coming away feeling down. And I was down. I was constantly berating and beating myself up. I remember I went to the movie theater in 2013 and I saw a movie called The Wolf of Wall Street. And there you got Leonardo DiCaprio, who could have any woman he wants, and here he is on screen with the gorgeous Margot Robbie. And I just sat there feeling like shit because that's not me up there with Margot Robbie. That's Leo. Of course it's Leo. Well, one of my all-time favorite movies is Saturday Night Fever. I love Saturday Night Fever. Well, I finally figured out what the opening scene is all about. You got the song Staying Alive playing. You got John Travolta going down the street, strutting down the street to Staying Alive. He's got the paint can in his hand. He's got the black leather jacket on, the black pants. He's got the red shirt. He's strutting down the street. He knows he can get any girl he wants. Now, you might be thinking, well, wouldn't that bother you like it did with Leo? Well, different perspective here. I was in the mall shortly after viewing this, and I walked past Tip Top Tailors, just casually walked by it, just like any other day. It was a Saturday, and I saw the red shirt in the window. I went into Tip Top Tailor. I knew what I had to do. I bought the red shirt. I only wear black jeans. I don't like wearing dress pants, but I don't wear blue jeans. I wear black jeans because black goes with everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I wear black jeans, and I got a black blazer. And a lot of people, from my mom to friends, thought it was a really cool thing I did. And mom suggested I should go back and try to get more. So I went back. I got a violet dress shirt and a blue one. And I got another black blazer. And I remember I get my head shaved by this very attractive barber who I'd known since she worked at Dairy Queen. And I just followed her up to uh, the barber shop there, and she in the mall, and she would shave my head. And we used to small talk, and I told her what I was planning to do. She never took me seriously on anything,
Mm-hmm.
but when I pointed towards the Tip Top Tailor's bag, I gestured for her to look inside. She looked inside, and suddenly our conversation shifted. It's like, wow, you're really taking this seriously. And we started having a conversation about it. Today, I have dress shirts in every single color. I have a silver blazer, which is really nice as well. And I remember when I went back to the nightclub, there was a shooter girl there I always liked. And she was always friendly with us. But I remember she came over and she was talking to my friends, and I knew she didn't recognize me. And suddenly my friend Colin says, "Hey, you haven't said hello to Greg yet." And she looks at me and she's like, oh, her jaw just dropped. She goes, "I didn't even recognize you." And she go over and she gave me a big hug. And it felt nice, you know?
And it made your dick hard too, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Don't fucking lie about it now.
But I'll tell you something. I wore those for a while and I still have them. But I found out I still hadn't had the girlfriend. But I'm okay with that because now I know what that opening scene in Saturday Night Fever was all about.
Because he wasn't tethered to any girl.
He had confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I lacked confidence.
Right.
Now I'm doing this podcast and I'm talking to some of those gorgeous women in the entertainment industry, you know, and I don't feel one bit nervous about doing it. I don't even feel nervous talking to women anymore because I'm not looking for anything. I mean, if something happens, but I'm not really looking for anything.
I mean, if she
And
sits on your face, she sits on your face, right? It's not like you're gonna tell her to get off. Well, you're gonna hope that she gets off, but not get off of you, right?
I love this. But I needed the confidence. And it changed the way I looked at myself, and it changed the way I looked at women, that I don't have to be Leo DiCaprio. In fact, I don't even have to be Leo DiCaprio to get a Margot Robbie, but I don't necessarily have to look for a Margot Robbie either. I'm kind of happy just having my cat hair and having my job. And if somebody comes into my life, somebody comes into my life. Somebody doesn't, I'm kind of happy.
Good.
So when I hear you tell your story, because I've seen pictures of you on Facebook with you and the girls. Like, you got your confidence, man.
Yeah. I mean, and I use my money to my advantage. I'm a money hoarder. I don't know how it is over there in Canada, but here we have this very toxic, outdated mindset that you need to share your money with everyone. You go to a restaurant, you better tip no matter what. You order a pizza, you better tip the delivery guy. You better loan out money, you better donate and all that. And I just like, fuck you, I'm gonna hoard all of my money, because at the end of the day I don't have the same amount of money as everyone else does. I don't have a job. I just have government income, which is not that much. So I hoard my money, I save up, and then every so often I'll go out and spend some money. And the pictures that you see, I go to one of my favorite strip clubs, and they usually will have feature porn stars there working, and you can take pictures with them. So that's what I do.
And I'll tell you something else that boosted my confidence. I've had girls here, and this was before I got the makeover, but because they knew I was interested in them, they weren't interested in me, and they made me feel like shit.
Mm.
But when I got the makeover done, I remember I had a picture done, and I put it on Facebook. And one day I saw on Facebook there was a comment by Melanie Kinnaman, who was the final girl in Friday the 13th, Part 5. And I was like, oh my goodness, she is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
She put a comment on the picture, a comment I don't think I deserve, but I'll take it from her, said hot. And I was like thinking about all the girls that's turned me down here. And I'm like, fuck you. Melanie Kinnaman paid me a massive compliment. I might even put that on my tombstone when I die. Melanie Kinnaman said I was hot. I'll take that. You know
Yeah.
what? That makes me feel good. Because she's gorgeous, much more gorgeous than any girl I tried to pick up here.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And let's be honest, Friday the 13th 5, it's got some of the best titties in it.
Well, Debbie Sue and I don't get along right now, so it don't matter.
uh, which one was she?
The one with they got the shears in the eyes.
Oh, okay. I enjoyed the titties much more of that the blonde girl that was waiting on cocaine. No, the cocaine guy was waiting on her.
Oh,
She was.
I had the cocaine guy on the show.
Oh, I'm sure he was a hoot to talk to.
Oh yeah, he was a hoot.
He was a fun character in the movie for sure.
Yeah,
See,
but
I like A New Beginning. Growing up, a lot of my friends and people I knew didn't like that movie, but I like A New Beginning.
I watch A New Beginning for one thing. Melanie Kinnaman is easy on the eyes, you know,
Yeah.
and she knows I think she's beautiful. Same reason I watch Part 3. Tracy Savage is easy on the eyes, you know.
Oh,
But
which one was it that Amy Steele was in? Was that the second one?
Part 2, yeah.
Yeah, I got a huge heart for the second one. I think that the second, and it's funny is like I didn't even like when I was growing up. I didn't even like one and two and three for the most part. But I think that's just because I was so used to, oh, I just want to see a Friday the 13th movie with Jason in a hockey mask. But part two is a good movie.
Want my Part 2 story?
Sure.
It was the first one I seen, and I was afraid of horror films when I was young, scared to death to watch them. And I don't know, I might have been 11 or 12, and my cousins and my older brother baited me into watching Friday the 13th Part 2. And I'm going to tell you that was a nightmarish sit. But I'm going to tell you, Kirsten Baker became the first woman I ever seen naked. And I would love to meet her so I could actually I've interviewed Russell Todd, who was the guy that ended up hanging upside down in it. And he said that she'd probably love to hear that story. She's the first one I've seen naked. But
I think if trying to think back, one of the first on-screen girls I remember seeing naked, I think it was that nurse from Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street 3,
Oh, nice.
where Freddy as that nurse was seducing Joey, and she took her shirt off, and oh my god, she had the best fucking titties at that time. It's like,
Yeah,
wow.
until she turned into Freddy, and then you know,
Yeah.
that's not so hot anymore.
Yeah, not so much anymore.
But yeah, I admire the fact that you know that that you're able to look at your situation and just flip at the finger, you know, so to speak, you know. I want to hear a little bit more because I don't know a lot about your background,
Mhm.
but would you mind explaining to me and the audience, whoever listens to this, your disability?
Yeah, sure. I have a very rare physical disability. It's called arthrogryposis.
Okay.
There's different levels of it. There is a level to where it would just affect your legs and nothing else. There's a level where it would just affect your arms and hands and nothing else. And then there's a version that I have, which it affects my legs, hands, and arms. Yeah, so I've got the most severe version of it. At the time when I was born in 1986, I was only one of three other babies in the state that I was born in that was born with it, and the other two died. So the mortality rate of my disability was not very good. And when I was first born, there was all kinds of complications. I medically speaking, I did die a couple of times. I stopped breathing. I had sleep apnea. I had other kinds of complications. I couldn't eat, so they had to put a feeding tube in my stomach. So there was a lot that I survived when I was a baby. Um, yeah, so growing up, when I was born, also, and it's so funny because me and my mother were just in a hospital about a week ago for I had to get an MRI. And it was a religious hospital, Catholic hospital. And this person, she called herself a chaplain or something like that. She came up to us and started talking to us. And by the way, I'm not religious. I don't know if said that.
I'm Christian, but I totally understand why a lot of people are I I quit going to church because it became all about money and people passing judgment off on you, you know? I find that you can show your Christian faith in other ways without going to church. Like
Yeah, I
me
guess so.
just working in the hospital, helping my coworkers and people there is a form of showing your faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm not religious. I don't step on other people's beliefs or anything like that because, I firmly believe in, don't tell me what to believe in. I won't tell you what to believe in. But we were in this kind of religious background hospital, and this chaplain woman came up and started talking to us, and my mom was telling her stories about me and all that. And I forgot about these facts, but I guess when I was first born, I guess one of the nurses came up to my mom and in not so many words offered her to like for them to like take care of the problem and get rid of me, as in like just on the down low suffocate me or kill me or something like that, so my mom didn't have to live with that. And my mom said, "Fuck no, it's my child. I'm gonna raise him." So I survived all that. I survived complications. I survived possible murderous nurses.
Yep.
I stayed in the hospital, I think, for close to 6 months of my first of my life, because of all different kinds of complications. But I, I, I grew up out of it and got healthy, and yeah,
Well, you know, that's bizarre when somebody says that, take care of the problem. I admire the fact that your mom took a very different stance on that. And then they talk about being religious.
no, 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 that was a different hospital.
Oh,
Yeah, that was a completely different. Where I live, there's actually more than one hospital close by.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't the religious background hospital. And and things were different back in 86. America wasn't used to dealing with unique disabled babies. So, but yeah, just the thought of these nurses basically saying to my mom, like, we can get rid of it for you, and no, you know what I mean, nothing will come back on you. And I don't know, that's just wild to think.
Well, you know what? You're still here.
Yeah, I'm
You're
happy
a
about it.
survivor.
Yep.
So talk about growing up with it. Did you, this might sound like an ignorant question to dive into, but did you have trouble fitting in with or making friends, or were you able to, uh, I don't know when you come to where you're at now,
Right. I know
but
what no, I know what you're asking.
yeah.
It took me a while to give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is a lot of my childhood, I enjoyed staying in my own little world. I had my parents, I had my aunts, uncles, my grandparents, and my cousins. And that's all I felt that I needed all throughout my single digits and even the first half of my teens as well. I didn't actually start caring about what other people out in the world thought of me probably until my mid-teens. I'd say not until like around 15, something like that. But yeah, up until then, my mom would take me anywhere that she could. She would take me to the park, take me to the library, take me to fairs and all kinds of stuff. And uh, I think she would get a little annoyed at people staring at. I just never noticed. I never cared. I just wanted to enjoy the festivities and then go home and watch cartoons. My
Mm-hmm.
two favorite cartoons to watch growing up was Batman the animated series and the Real Ghostbusters. Um,
Okay.
by the time I started watching TV, the Real Ghostbusters had already finished its initial run, and they were showing reruns. It didn't make no difference to me because a new episode to me was a new episode. By that point, it was in syndication over here, so it was coming on every weekday, I think. So I felt like I had an episode of something to look forward to, like every single day that I woke up. So yeah, like in my childhood, I just didn't fucking care about anything. I didn't notice women. I didn't notice any other human beings outside of my family. It wasn't until I think I got into high school when I started realizing, like, oh, there's other people around that matter. Because up until high school, my grade school years, kindergarten, middle school, the system over here was set up to where the handicapped kids were separated from the regular kids. And
Mm-hmm.
looking back on that, it probably was the right decision because all the extra complications and problems and issues you could have had mixing the two together. Instead, we were just focused on ourselves and kind of making friends with each other, and helping each other understand our unique challenges and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So yeah, middle all the way up to middle school, going into high school, our classes were separated. And then once high school started, then we were a little bit more in the mix with the normal kids. And I think that's when going to school on a daily basis, 5 days in a row. Then I was like, well, okay, well, these kids exist. What do they think of me? You know what I mean? Then that started happening, and then of course mid-teens, 14 or 15, then you start realizing you have a PP and it gets hard when you touch it, and and then oh, girls have boobs, and all that shit. Before that, like I said, I got introduced to horror movies very young, but and I you know you'd I would see titties, but I wouldn't even think much about it until after it was done and over with. Like, oh, those are pretty. Oh, they're gone. And it didn't really matter. But I think once I turned like 14 or 15, I got the internet, and of course, any teenager when you first get the internet, the first thing you're gonna research is porn, and yeah, so that's how it started. And then high school, I just spent most of those years up until junior and senior year. See, over here, it was a little bit different at the time. High school for me started at eighth grade, which I think,
Oh,
yeah, I think
okay.
normally nowadays high school starts for people at ninth grade, I think.
Yeah, for me it was 10th, but I know
Oh,
it's ninth now.
okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
our high school was packed because you had 8th through 12th. But so yeah, 8th through 10th for me was a little rough because I didn't know how to find myself. I didn't know how to get my grounding, for who I was and all that. But I the last 2 years of high school, 11th and 12th, I just understood how I needed to be as a human being. And that was when, like I said, that's when I started to accept who I was. You know what I mean? And then things just changed. So I can look back on it. I can say that I enjoyed my junior and senior years in high school. Before that, it was rough, but yeah,
Were you ever bullied?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, because bullying back then, we're talking early to mid 2000s. Bullying wasn't a big social what would you call it? It wasn't a big topic back then.
mm-hmm.
Back then it was, oh, you got bullied, toughen up, that type of shit. So
Oh,
yeah,
so that's
uh,
why it was with me too. Toughen
yeah.
up. Yeah.
So handicapped kids especially, we would get bullied a lot. I used to have the normal kids, they used to flick change at me and my other buddies that were in wheelchairs, just flick their change at us. I would get out of my wheelchair and just pick up the change and keep it. So it's like, well, if you want to hit me with your money, I'll keep your money, motherfucker. Stuff like that. I was spit on a couple of times in high school, shit like that. And just like I said on one of the episodes of the Toxic Horror Show, I wasn't without fault because I was also going around to these guys as girlfriends and telling them to play with my joystick and saying perverted shit to them. So, it wasn't but even though they made a joke about it on the Toxic Horror Show, but at the same time, the bullying started first. The way they started treating me, well, it was first, and then I started firing back with treating their women like they were just sex objects, which those bitches were. So, and I don't have many regrets. Do I wish I wasn't bullied in high school? Maybe, but at the same time, it did toughen me up for who I
Oh,
am as
yeah.
an adult.
It's funny because I have one of the things I find fascinated, and I think first time I heard it, something similar talked about it was on the Howard Stern show, but the idea of cuckolding. You know what cuckolding is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's when it's
And
when you have to watch a big black man fuck your wife.
well, not necessarily a black man, but another guy.
Well,
But
if you want to get truly cocked, it has to be a big black man with a big black cock fucking your wife.
well, I always thought, if it really works, you get the smaller person or the nerdy person that ends up fucking your wife. But I remember, and I found this so fascinating. Howard Stern was interviewing a stripper, and the conversation got about what her boyfriend thought of it, and this and that, and it just fascinated me the mindset. You got some guys obviously that don't like it, and then you got guys out there they're really kind of loving it. And then there's the mindset of the people that look at it like, wow, especially the guys that have girlfriends or wives who are porn stars and they're seeing their wife do this stuff. I'm not saying it's right or wrong or whatever, but I found it fascinating. So when you say that you retaliated by going after, and I'm not saying you were trying to pick them up. You're more or less like, yeah, I'm handicapped. You know what? I'm going after your girl. Could you talk about the first time you ever tried to do that and what the girl's reaction was or what the situation? Paint that picture for me.
Yeah, let's see. It was probably the early 2000s. I grew up a wrestling fan. I'm still a wrestling fan to this day.
Hmm.
And we're talking, late 90s, early 2000s where Degeneration X was still a thing. So at
I'm
that
not I'm
point,
not a Shawn Michaels fan, by the way,
oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
liked wrestling in the 70s and 80s.
so at that point, the cool thing to say to each other as an insult is "suck it." So when these couples would say something ignorant to me, I would just look at their girlfriend, I'd point to my crotch and I'd say, "Well, suck it then, bitch," that type of shit. So that's how it started. I think we were just in study hall or something like that, and I said it to this girl, and the first time I said it, I meant it more as like it was just a joke, like I didn't think it would offend anyone. But then when I said it, all these guys were like, what the fuck did he just say? That type of shit. Like, oh, God forbid if I said that to a girl. And then I just kind of stuck with it. And then the way that my wheelchair was at the time and the way my disability is, I can't lift my arm up to the side or anything like that. So if you're picturing a regular electric wheelchair, the joysticks are usually on the armrest, over on the armrest for people to use to drive around. I don't know if you've ever seen an electric wheelchair.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, well, mine was modified to have the joystick unit right in my lap because that's the only way I can use my hands is like if in my lap area. So that's why it would make sense when I'd go up to these girls and say, "Hey, play with my joystick," because my joystick is basically right between my legs, like it's like as if it's my dick. And then that just started really infuriating everybody. Um, and it got to the point where I really got creative with how I would piss these people off. Like I would figure out what was the most busiest period of the day. And then I would take my wheelchair, myself in it, in my powered wheelchair, and I would park it right in front of the steps where I know all these dozens upon dozens of kids are trying to walk through to get to their next class. And I would just turn off my wheelchair, cut the power off, and I'd just say, "Oh, sorry, my battery died right here." And I would just make them basically like climb over me and through me. You know what I mean? It would piss all of them off. And my friends would watch and they would like, "Oh, I can't believe you did that." Well, fuck them. I don't give a shit. What are
I
they gonna
love
fuck?
it.
Yeah. So yeah, that started happening, and then it was, I think, my sophomore year. The teachers in my classroom tried out this new thing, and thank Christ they did, because I don't know how I would have began the process of starting to become friends with able-bodied kids. But they started this process of taking some of these kids out of study hall and giving them extra credits if they would become helper aides to us in our classes. Best idea the board of that school could have ever had, because it it put these able-bodied kids in a situation where it's like, okay, you be friends with these kids, these disabled kids, and try to learn them as a human and help them, and you get extra credits in return. And that's how me and a lot of my disabled comrades, that's how we started becoming friends with able-bodied people, is these people who became helper aides in our classes. And that's how it started. So, by the time my senior year came around, I had about a half dozen able-bodied friends, male and female, and I respected them for that. And even at that point, I knew how valuable a female friend was, so I didn't look at them in a sexualized way. I didn't flirt with them. I treated them, like a brotherly, sisterly type of friendship.
Hmm.
And that's what, when you're disabled, that's the type of friendship you got to have with 90% of the females in your life. And if you do that, it works, and you will have good friends.
Now, these guys that bullied you and you'd say stuff to the girlfriends, is there ever like how far did you get with any of these girls?
Uh, I mean, I never tried to actually talk to them. I just wanted to hurt their
Oh,
feelings. So
okay.
yeah, no, I wasn't actually trying to talk to any of their girls or anything like that. I
You
thought,
see, when I talk about cuckolding, that would be the story I would that to me would be the story. Not a big black guy, not that I'm trying to be racist, but more like the disabled guy going after the girl. That to me is a champion cuckolding story.
yeah, no, I get pussy in my life. I don't, I wasn't back in high school, but somewhere around my early 20s, I started figuring it out. And I've never really had a traditional girlfriend, but I have women in my life.
Okay, talk about the first time you was with a woman.
Yeah. So I had this friend who I'm still friends with to this day,
Hmm.
actually, and still to this day, me and her fuck around from time to time. Uh, she's one of those women that made a bad decision and had multiple kids, and she's overweight, and it's like, bitch, I'll help you out, and we'll turn out the light, and I won't know if I'm in a hole or a roll. You know what I mean? Just let's just do it. But I knew her all the way back in this was I think 2008, and she was actually working for me at the time. She was working with me through this company who hired her to take care of me. And at the time, her boyfriend wanted to come over here with her, and her boyfriend was a fucking weirdo. He didn't have no problem with the idea of me fucking this girl or anything like that. So I'd say maybe after a month and a half of her working for me, we were all sitting around and just the idea came up. She was just like, "Hey, can I fuck Cody?" And he was like, "Yeah, I don't care." I was just like, all right. So he sat out in the living room and I took his girlfriend in the bedroom and I fucked her and no condom either, which was probably a mistake. And man, she only rode me, I think, for maybe a minute and a half. And I was just like, get up off me. I'm about to come, that type of shit. I'm lucky I didn't impregnate her. I would have had to punch her in the stomach afterwards. But it ended up leading to a pretty weird situation, actually, that I still joke around about to this day. That happened, and that was all cool. I didn't have feelings for her or anything like that. I just wanted some pussy, and them two stayed together for quite a while. Well, then I would say maybe just a couple of weeks later, we were all at this fair, and me and him were on this double carded ride where you kind of sit next to each other, and we were waiting for the ride to get off because these kids were taking forever to get on the ride or whatever. And I decided to look over on him, and I was just like, "Hey, you mind if I fuck your girl again one of these days?" And yeah, I was ballsy. I didn't really care, like, hey, you let me do it once, maybe he'll let me do it again. And he puts his hand on my leg and he goes, "Oh, for you, little buddy, anything." And then he goes, "But I gotta ask you for a favor. The next time you and her fuck, can I watch? I just want to see the penis go in and out of the vagina." And I was just like, "Oh, dude, like, I never mind. I don't want to fuck your girl anymore because no, I can't sit there. I can't have you watch. I'm sorry." Like, so I was just like, no, dude, like, I don't know. And he's like, "Oh, okay, I understand." And then after that, I told her about that. I was like, I'm not doing this no more. And because, he wants to make it weird. And then I found out, a couple of months later, I found out that he's legitimately bisexual. And
Oh,
he was trying to turn it into a fucking handy capable threesome, I think, which I'm not okay with. I'm not bisexual. I'm straight, and
same here.
nothing against him or his ways or
Hmm.
anything like that. But I appreciate you letting me fuck your girl once, but no, it was a one-time thing at that time. So yeah, that was my first time. That was back in 2008. So I was 21. Yeah, I lost my virginity at 21, I think.
Oh, you long beat me.
Are I did want to ask, are you still a virgin or did you get some pussy at this point in your life?
Are you kidding me? Nobody wants this.
Oh, you
Actually, you know what? It's not a matter of not getting it. It's a matter of I just don't look for it anymore. Here's how weird it got after when I got my makeover done. I got invited to my first convention, and that was in Toronto. And the after party for it was at a strip club. And how funny it is, I had this the word got around that I was from New Brunswick. And I had this beautiful shooter girl come over to me. She was topless. She comes over to me and she she says to me, she goes, So I hear you're from New Brunswick, and the whole time I'm like talking to her. I know she's nude, but I'm looking her in the face, and I'm like,
Hmm.
but have I had sex? You know what? I just come out and say it. Fuck it. You know I haven't. And if somebody wants to make fun of me for that, fuck them. You know.
You know,
I don't have kids. I don't want kids. I know people who had sex for the first time and it fucked them up when they got told that their girlfriend's pregnant.
mm,
One of the reasons I don't have sex, and people say use birth control, I'm always afraid of being that percentage that it doesn't work for.
mm,
You know, I'm always because I never wanted kids. I got a cat. That's about as responsible as I want to be. I can take care of my cat, you know? And I can leave the apartment and go to work and my cat uses a litter box, you know. He's got food, out for him.
your cat's the only pussy you need, huh?
Yeah. But I tried and I had a situation where somebody owed this guy a favor, tried to make something happen. And this was before I wish I had the makeover beforehand because I would never have put myself in this situation because I used to come home. There was a time when I used to come home because being a virgin, I used to take my belt buckle and beat myself across the back with it because I hated myself that much because I
Mm,
felt undesirable. Now I would never think of doing that.
right.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. When I was going to have sex with this girl, what was the word? Erectile dysfunction or whatever it is, and I could not get erect.
Mm.
Now I know what the problem was.
You were nervous.
No, it's not a matter of nervous. This girl didn't want to use protection. And
Mm.
I didn't know how many guys she was with. I mean, I knew the girl, but I didn't know how many guys she was with. And I didn't want, okay, my older brother, I remember him telling me, and I was the first one he told when he got his girlfriend pregnant. You know, that wasn't planned on his end. And when he told me that, it devastated me. Devastate me about him. It made me really afraid of sex. And I think there was a word I looked it up the other not long ago. What fear of sex? Now, am I interested in sex? Yeah, but there's also a fear of it too. But part of it, you don't
You,
want diseases and stuff. But me, I don't want to get somebody pregnant. And people say, well, you can get an abortion. So, you know what? I'm not against abortion. I'm not for abortion. I just don't want to be on that end to make that decision.
yeah. We just need to get you we just need to get your dick sucked. That's all. You just got to go to the right club, get comfortable with the right girl, and then before you buy a dance, just say, "Hey, you want to make a little extra tonight, bitch?" and see if she'll suck your dick.
You know what? I'm kind of good. I'm gonna be frank. Um, and I'm attracted to women and whatnot. It's just I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm 50. It's like Jeff Foxworthy once said, and this is so true now because I sleep so much now, especially due to my shifts at the hospital. He said, when you're young, all you want to do is have sex. When you're older, all you want to do is sleep and hope you have a dream about sex.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I've come now, and I think the makeover, the like I said, I wish I had the makeover. I've had the makeover for about 10 years or so now. I kind of wish I had it sooner because I would not have put myself through a lot of physical self-abuse. I wouldn't have been so much hate. I mean, my family and friends saw a massive change in my attitude, you know? But I mean, I don't care if anybody hears this. They want to make fun of me because I don't get laid. Fuck them, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Most of the people say they're getting laid are probably aren't either, you know. So
it's not everything. Getting pussy is a plus, but it's not like the most important thing, in the world. So,
and a lot of people they'll go out there and you hear stories they just want to grab any girl at all. I gotta look at it this way. I got crushes. My big celebrity crush is Emma Stone. But here's the thing with Emma Stone. She's nice to look at, yes. But here's another plus with Emma Stone. She's fun to watch. I could watch her just be interviewed. She's got this nice finesse about her. She's very funny. She's very expressive. And she plays some interesting roles that make her more than just somebody to look at. She's a lot of fun to watch in whatever role, whether it be Easy A, La La Land, Zombie Land, what have you, Superbad. I think I really liked her in Superbad because I related to Jonah Hill's character. He was trying to get laid,
mhm.
and that was before my makeover. So I related to him. I think that's why I liked Emma Stone so much. But when I go to the movies, and if Emma Stone's in it, I don't go thinking, well, I wonder if she's going to get naked in it. I go just because I think she's interesting. I mean, the favorite she did get naked, but I didn't know that going in, so there you go. But I still think Margot Robbie is hot. But again, Margot Robbie is also interesting to watch. Look at her as Harley Quinn. Look at her even in Babylon recently. Look at her as Tanya Harding in I, Tanya. She's more than just a pretty face. And I know Jennifer Connelly was another one. There's actresses out there, they're beautiful, but they don't bring anything else to the plate,
Yeah,
you know? And then there's ones that, yeah, that are beautiful. Boy, they make the viewing experience more enticing because they got the ability within themselves to make it more than it is. And in a way, it's kind of what like a relationship should be. Because after when two people get married, when the newness wears off, you got to live with each other. You want to hope you like your partner.
yeah. They call that the honeymoon period
Yep.
or something
And
like that.
me, I'll tell you something about me. Another reason I don't have a girlfriend. I know what I'm like to live with. I I'm very much a loner. I'm one of these people who likes to come and go when he wants. If I want to do something, I go do it. And sometimes when you got a partner, you your partner will want to do stuff with you, and rightfully so. But
Yeah,
you can't just pick and choose. You either want to work on the relationship or not, you know? So that's why I don't run around trying to pick up girls either, because you don't want to treat women like something to fucking throw away either,
right.
you know? But
Even though some of them deserve to be that.
there's some of them that, yeah, I can see that, yeah. But I'll give you an example of a girl that's nice looking that I used to really like, but completely turned me off. That's Jennifer Lawrence. I used to really like Jennifer Lawrence. She wasn't bad on the eyes, but now I don't even want to look at her. And it has nothing to do with her physical appearance.
Remind me again. What's some of the movies Jennifer
She was
Lawrence?
she was famous for Hunger Games,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, and I liked her in Silver Linings Playbook, and she's done some stuff. She's done some really good stuff, but this is not about what she does on the screen. It's about her overall attitude. First, it was, I don't like to take selfies with fans because I don't know who they are. But yet she'll take selfies with every fucking celebrity that's around her.
Hmm.
When she's in interviews, it's not my best friend so and so. She always says it's like my best friend Amy Schumer. Like she wants you to know what class she is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she's trying to tell you she's better than you,
Yeah.
you know? I'd like to see her work at the hospital that I'm at and see how fucking good she is. I don't
Right.
think she'd last a night. She probably wouldn't last an hour, 30 minutes maybe, if
Well,
that.
what do you do in the hospital, by the way?
I do housekeeping. I clean. I Terminal cleaning is the hardest because you're in the room the longest because you got to robe up, mask up, and you got to do the walls and everything because of the whole COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
But one actually, I really I say I do housekeeping there, but really what I consider my job is to make sure my coworkers have an easier night.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
That's good.
that is really, and you want to go back to Christianity, that is Christianity without shoving it down people's throats. But anyway, I'll come back to that in a minute. But Jennifer Lawrence now is like, and here's the difference between her and Emma Stone. Jennifer Lawrence gets married and it's announced everywhere. Emma Stone got married during the pandemic. It wasn't announced everywhere. I mean, people end up finding out, but she didn't come out and, I got married. Come one, come all. She got married privately. Not to me, unfortunately, but I don't think she'd want to live with me. But nonetheless, Jennifer Lawrence had a baby, announced all over the place. We didn't know Emma Stone was even pregnant until a paparazzi caught her filling her gas tank up in her car. She was Emma Stone comes off to me like somebody, she knows who she is, she knows that she's in the public eye, but she's not there telling everybody, like she knows she puts her pants on one leg at a time just like us, you know. Jennifer Lawrence, I can't take her anymore, you know. I used to really like her and now it's like, you know what? You think you're above me and think you're above everybody else, go away, go away,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know.
her her pussy probably stinks anyway. So, oh well, fuck her.
I don't know about that, but I'll tell you about the thing about the hospital. What I do at the hospital, I'm gonna give you a good example. Um, because I have a good job there and I feel blessed by it. But I'll tell you, I mean, I like doing overnight. So you're lucky you caught me tonight because I love doing overnights because I can plan my interviews during the day when I have them. But I did an overnight shift and then I came home here, and this was just before Christmas. I did some stuff on the computer, threw some invites for interviews out, and did this or that on the computer. Then I stuck Gremlin. I remember it was Gremlins I was watching, and was watching that. And just as the movie got over, my phone rings. I hadn't had any sleep, and I was asked by a supervisor if I'd come in and work 4 to 12. Now I could have said no, but they have a situation where there's a lot of people that often call in. And I get this from my dad. I said yes. Probably shouldn't have because of my lack of sleep, but I went in and I did the 4 to 12. And I didn't fall asleep. I went and did my work, but I went in and did the work. Towards the end of the shift, I was asked to go down to the ER. Now, out of every spot in the hospital, I think the busiest and most complicated is the ER because there's always stuff going on. And that's not a knock on it. I mean, your shift goes by pretty quickly when you're busy, but you're constantly moving. I was asked to go down there because two of the workers had about 4 terminals to do, and one of them was in the midst of doing a C-dip terminal, which is a terminal plus. And I can't really explain that really well, but let's just say it's a pain in the ass. I went down there and I went to help them do their stuff. And 11 o'clock p.m. rolls along. One of my other coworkers shows up to do 11 till 7 in the morning in the ER. The conversation came, who's going to help that guy? And the elder guy that was doing the C-dip room, he carpools some of the women home because some of them don't have drives. So he carpools them home, and but he was going to carpool them home and come back. He's a great guy, but I was like, no, you go home. I live about 4 minutes from the hospital, so I'll stay on. The guy that just arrived said, no, Greg, you go home. You've already worked. Anyway, I went upstairs and the supervisor was frantically and failing, but frantically trying to find somebody to come in to work the ER. Nobody was, she was either getting answering machines or nothing at all. So I said, I'll stay. Now, the good news, she had pizza in the fridge and she told me to help myself, which was nice. I knew I was going to be a zombie by morning, but I went down there and I know the coworker that told me to go home, there was 3 curtained off areas in one section in the ER. He had the curtains down because they all had to be terminally clean. When he looked at me, he had a look of relief. He knew I was staying and he knew I'd already worked, but he was glad I stayed. I'm not trying to pat myself in the back here, but when people ask me what I do at the hospital, it's simple to say housekeeping, but really watch out for your coworkers. Because here's here's a situation on the opposite end. I could have been as an overworked guy doing 2 shifts. I could have said, fuck it, and quit. The guy in the ER with the working by himself could have said, fuck it, and quit. By me staying, number one, it increases their uh, view of me as a reliable worker. But look at the relationship I have with my coworker. He knows I got his back, and therefore he'll have my back. So that's kind of where I'm at when it comes to what I do at the hospital. And I hope this doesn't bore anybody for me telling people this, but and a lot of people, they go to work, serve the patient, help the patients. That's important. I like the people I work with, and I try not to give them a reason to quit. And I think that's really what my job is, to make sure their night or their day or whatever goes better by me helping them.
Yeah.
I know that's not as interesting as the sex talk, but
Oh, I get it. That was a good story.
and we got hot nurses there too and stuff like that. But here's the thing again. It's like I told you about Toronto and the strip club, I don't I don't have to hit on them. I can talk to them. Um, it's just kind of weird after I got the makeover. It didn't become about trying to pick up anymore. Because I thought when I got the makeover, I thought I did it because I wanted to get laid. And it's like, no, that was not really what I need. I need my confidence. And with confidence, you get to be happier with yourself. Now I'm not beating myself with a fucking belt buckle or any other thing, or trying to cut myself or some shit like that, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, you know? And I find, and I'll be quite frank with you, I'm 100% confident if I wanted to go out tonight, well, maybe not tonight, it's late, but if I wanted to go out and get a girlfriend, I probably know how to do it now. Now I just don't give a shit because I'm in this little tiny apartment. I got plans I want to do. Eventually, I want to move to Toronto. I still want to work in the hospitals, you know? Um,
Oh, and a lot of these women, they say they're looking for love, but a lot of them are just looking for a sperm donor and a husband, just to take care of everything. And
yeah.
that's a lot to do with why people end up miserable. They say, I don't know who they are, but they say that it takes almost 2 years to actually get to know someone, like fully.
Mm-hmm.
So, and all these young couples, especially, they get together. A lot of people just have sex and then, oh, we're attached to each other. Let's be together, and it's like, you don't know each other. Doesn't matter how many times you stuck your dick in her. You don't know her. She doesn't know
Mm-hmm.
you. Like that. You could be up each other's assholes for weeks on end without a break, and you still haven't completely scratched the surface on knowing each other. It
Mm-hmm.
takes a while to know to truly know someone. um and I'm completely all for the idea of getting to know a woman as a friend for a
Mm-hmm.
while and then seeing if there's any true natural compatibility between you two.
Another thing too, and again, I say I'm fascinated with cuckolding. I've never done it, and you know what? I probably wouldn't do it either because if I loved somebody, I probably would be heartbroken if they fell in love with a guy and left me. But I'll tell you one thing though, I'm no prude, and always curious about, especially the weird stuff people are into sexually, you know? I don't understand why they haven't done, especially somebody like Judd Apatow hasn't done a sex comedy that dealt with, especially the weird fucking fetishes people are into. I hear some weird stuff all the time that would make such a fucking funny comedy. I interviewed a comedian named Dale Hilton, and he told me a situation that I've never forgotten. I never heard about this one. Because prior to this, I think the weirdest thing ever heard and the funniest thing was always the guys that like to have their women put them in diapers. I always thought that was funny. This topped that. This topped that because Dale Hilton used to be um, one of these guys that would drive the girls for the escort services, and then he'd wait in his vehicle and then take them back. And he would often. I asked him. I said, "Do you ever hear any weird stories?" You know, because these stories I think are far more fun than The Notebook. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I'd much rather see this than The Notebook or Titanic. Sorry. But he told me that this girl came back and she said this guy paid her a large sum of money to beat him with raw chicken. Now, could you see that being on fucking screen? That would be fucking funny.
I don't understand what the fetish of that was.
I don't understand it either. And I hear about I don't understand a lot of stuff people are into. I don't get it. I don't get the furries thing. And I'm not trying to be prejudiced, I don't get a lot of it. In fact, I'll be frank, I don't even understand the desire for people to be put in pain. And, like people say whips and chains. I kind of get it. It's a domination thing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of weird how pain has become pleasure when none of us really wants to be in pain.
Right. And I kind of agree with that because, like, I think especially here in the States, like, a lot of women assume that men enjoy being scratched and bitten and hair pulled. And when a girl does that to me, I'm like, ow, fucking quit. And a lot of these girls are like, what? Why? What? Are you serious? That hurts? I'm like, yes, it fucking hurt. Don't pull my hair. Don't scratch me. What the fuck?
And also, again, I haven't practiced cuckolding, but it's also in a way a safety net for me too, because where I mentioned before, where I want to avoid the whole pregnancy thing and this and that. There's a lot happened in my past, especially after my brother told me when he first got his girlfriend pregnant, kind of really made me distance myself too emotionally from it all. So that's another reason why I kind of stay, I wouldn't say away from women, but I don't take that step. And maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe I'm robbing myself. But at the same token, the last thing I want is for a woman to tell me she's pregnant. And I'm going to tell you something else I heard too. This was scary. I heard this in a church sermon, and this was scary. A guy talked about this guy that went on a business trip, and his wife wasn't with him, so he hired a hooker for the night, and he had sex with the hooker. The following morning, when he woke up, there in lipstick on the mirror was, "Congratulations, now have AIDS." That scared me. So there's a lot that's really fucked with my head in terms of again, I know people like to make fun of the virgins, but I find it's kind of kept me fucking safe.
Yeah. I'm definitely another person that's very worried about STDs in general. Like, I won't have sex with a woman who I don't know personally, and I have to know that she's more than likely a clean person for me to be okay with anything like that.
Now, now that's not to say if say like Margot Robbie would have sex with me, but if she was here now, it would be hard to say no. But I know my mind would be on, there's a barrier I don't want to cross,
Hmm.
but I don't know how many others have had this issue. I looked it up, what the term was, fear of sex, but I can't remember what the term was now scientifically, but I read up on it, because I guess it's a thing. And, but yeah, but nonetheless, I want to hear something more uplifting. I want because I've seen pictures of you in your wheelchair chair with some of these women around you. You want to share any of those experiences?
Oh, those are just I'm pretty sure most of those are just the porn stars from the strip club that I
Hmm.
go to and take pictures. You pay like 20, $25 to take a picture with them, and I do it because it's like, well, I want this for the Facebook post and make all my friends laugh. And some of the girls were some of the girls you can tell like they're super uncomfortable and they'll just stand next to me, and you can, those are the ones that are like, I don't know if I'm going to take a picture with a handicap guy. But then there's these other girls that'll like lean on me. Or one of the porn stars, her name was Tori Black.
Hmm.
She I took a picture with her twice, I think, 1 year and then like 2 years later. At both times she sat on my lap, and she was super talkative with me too. She'll make eye contact with me, she'll talk to me as if she's a regular human being. You know what I mean? Out of all the porn stars I've met and taken pictures with, Tori Black is definitely the most kindness to me. Um, so yeah, most of them are just that. I think there's a few pictures in there where I just took a picture with a friend. You know, uh, I usually try to make a picture that's funny or people will look at it and like, what the fuck am I looking? You know what I mean? Something to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know there's this inside joke with me and my friends that one of the things I'm addicted to in life is Mountain Dew. So I'm not sure if you saw that picture, but I took a picture with a case of Mountain Dew on top of my chest and I was just holding on to it with a big smile on my face. And my friends got it. They got the joke of it because Cody can't live without his Mountain Dew. So I don't take just pictures of porn stars. I like taking all kinds of funny looking pictures. I mean, my current profile picture is me next to a box of cookies, and the cookies have handicap logos on them. Uh, I know there's a restaurant where I live. It's called Eaton Park. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
have Eaton Park in Canada, but when you go to Eaton Park, you can order customized cookies for a little bit extra money, but you can, have them put certain designs on it. And I'm talkative with everywhere I go. I'm talkative with everyone. I'm very extroverted, and
Mm-hmm.
I got comfortable enough with the woman who makes the cookies down there, and I just said, "Hey, would you feel okay with making a handicap logo cookie?" And at first they were all like, "Well, what? Why? Like, why would you want that?" And I explained to them like why I find it funny and like who I am and what the fact that I view my disability as a positive thing, just all that stuff. And they said okay, and I just said, and they said, "Well, how do you want it to look exactly?" I said, "I want it to look just like the fucking logo does out in the parking lot. A blue background with a white logo, a handicap logo." And they did it for me. And then, in that picture, I made
I
myself,
love it.
yeah, I made myself look retarded in the picture next to the cookies, and it made everyone laugh.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like to take just regular pictures because I think for me, if I took more regular pictures, then that would leave it open more for people to be all like, oh, it's not so much the picture itself that I'm interested in, but why does he look like that? But if you take out like silly looking off the wall pictures, then it's like, oh, he's trying to make me laugh. Now I'm more comfortable laughing because
Oh, I love that attitude. Yes.
I'm supposed to laugh, so I am going to laugh, and it's comfortable to laugh. You know what I mean? So yeah, but you go through my pictures on my Facebook. I'd say 85% of them are non-regular, off-the-wall pictures, either with my friends or a joke picture or with a porn star. I mean, what's funnier than seeing a cripple next to a porn star? You know what I mean? That's fucking funny.
Yeah, but you know what? I raise my fist and I just cheer that, because you like it's like you're winning one for the team,
Hmm?
I can't. I failed so many times. Of course, maybe I wouldn't now. Maybe I wouldn't now, but I just haven't been trying. I haven't tried for years, but still, it's like I look at that as a win that you could go out there and do that. But um anyway, where was I gonna go with this? Oh gee, I lost my train of thought. Because I know where I was going to go. I was going to talk about conventions. They're like, oh yeah, I know where I was going to go. Cody's Hot Seat, your podcast, and I love the term hot seat because it's like wheelchair, but you're the one you can control. Because I know recently when
Yeah,
I
it's,
was
it's
on
not it's not supposed to be as Cody's hot seat. It's not really my seat that's hot. It's more like the guest is in the hot seat.
mhm.
And that's because of how off the wall and raw, I guess I make the interviews.
I love that too. I know you had your first female guest was Mandy Camano, Anthony's wife, on there. Now, I've had Anthony on twice. I got to get Mandy on here at some point. So, what was it like having Mandy on there as your first female guest, or did you not even think about it?
Um, No, it wasn't. I usually don't get nervous. I usually don't even think about the interview at all up until the moment we start. And that's what a lot of people, bring up to me like, oh, wow, you don't go off script. You don't have already predetermined question. No, I don't. Because that's not how I operate. If I try to think about anything like that ahead of time, I would fuck up. So I don't even I just think about it enough to remember I got an interview with this person at 10:30 tonight. That's that. And then as I'm talking to people, I naturally get curious about every factor of their life, every corner of their existence. And and I'm not afraid to ask the most personal fucking questions. Um I think I did. I can't remember what it was, but I think I did end up asking Mandy something that she ended up saying, I don't really want to. I don't think she said the words, I don't want to talk about that, but I think she basically made it clear, like, we're not going to get into that. So sometimes that does happen. I'll ask someone something and they won't really feel comfortable talking about it. And that's fine. I don't grill my guests on something they don't want to talk about. We'll just move on to something different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was fun. I had a lot more fun interviewing Mandy than I thought I would. I thought she was going to be a lot more quiet and a lot more reserved and laid back, but she was just as outrageous as I am. And did you watch the interview?
I haven't. I actually, you know what? Because at the hospital, I don't listen to stuff because I have to be alert to my surroundings.
Mhm.
But how many episodes do you have of Cody's Hot Seat right now?
Ooh, I
Because
don't even know.
I have to listen.
My very first one was with Anthony, actually, all the way back 7, 8 months ago. That was the most viewed episode. I ended up getting like 500 views on that. And that's because of the subject. And it was Anthony. And there was a lot of controversy surrounding Anthony at that
Oh yeah, controversy with him and me. Like he got
time.
because he was had my back over the 13 fanboy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
the thing is like I I went into that interview not even knowing entirely what the fuck the situation was.
yeah.
Um and I just, in all day that day leading up to that first interview with him, he was going back and forth on if he was even gonna do it or not. Uh and then at an hour before we were supposed to go, he messaged me. He was like, "All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this for myself, and I'm gonna do it for you too, because you're my friend." And yeah, me and him has become good friends since then. But we did the interview. I thought it was a blast because it started out as me just interviewing him about his life, his childhood, and then we eventually got into the controversy of his campaigns and this idea that he was supposedly stealing money from people and all that
Hmm.
shit. And then before you knew it, people started calling in, and Rob called in and Aaron called in, and just he was going back and forth. It turned into a goddamn Jerry Springer episode, and I loved it. I wanted to just keep it going because like most people like, oh, let's hold it back a little bit. There's no reason to treat each other like that, and I don't give a fuck. I, on the other hand, just don't give a fuck. Like, say whatever you want to say to each other. Words are just words. It's all up to the person hearing the words how they want to take it.
Hmm. Yep.
And so I thought we had an incredible time on that. And I just sat there day after day watching the numbers grow on that. So then it's like, hey, I'm on to something here. We'll keep it going. And yeah, every so often I'll do it, get another guest. And, some are better than others. Some people I have a hard time getting them to open up and really talk the way I want them to. And then other people are right on the same level with me. So, no
Is it
matter
on
what,
YouTube?
yeah, it's on Rabbit and Red Radio Network's YouTube page. I don't think Mike grouped it into a playlist yet, but I think if you go onto their YouTube page and then you go to the search bar and type in Cody's Hot Seat, I think you'll find most of the episodes.
Okay, I'm seeing it here now because I need to check this out because I'd love to see what your interview style's like.
It's very balls to the wall.
Well, I love that too. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
I don't do interviews through the lens of wokeness or anything, any socially acceptable rules. I
Oh,
just kind of,
wokeness is shit.
yeah, no.
Wokeness right now is what's ruining entertainment.
Yeah, and I don't know how bad it is there in Canada, but here
Oh,
in the
it's bad.
States, it has become such a huge fucking poison here in the States. Everything's tame now for it. A comedian, yeah, comedians can't make any jokes. God forbid if you make any light humored jokes about any kind of race or any kind of sexuality, or God forbid if you make any disabled jokes. Whatever happened to the time period where humor was just humor?
Could you
Comedy was
imagine Sam Kinison dealing with this woke business?
right. Like I just and because of it, I don't really follow comedies anymore, or or stand-up comedians anymore, because it's all neutered.
Well, watch Bill Burr. He still does well with it.
Yeah, Bill Burr, and then Ari Shafir is, I really like him too.
Oh, I never heard of him.
Yeah, check out Ari Shafir. He just did a comedy special called Jew, because he's Jewish. So
Okay.
he did a comedy special called Jew, and there he makes a lot of religious jokes, a lot of socially unacceptable things that he says, and he don't give a fuck. So and he did a lot of things in the late 2000s and early 2010s that you could never get away with now. He I can't remember what the fucking movie was called that he was in, that he did this character, but I think it was in the early 2010s. He did a character called the Amazing Racist.
Oh,
And
I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
and there was this one
Oh,
scene, he had a boat and he was offering free trips back to Africa for all black people. And it was funny.
it
Like it's
was.
it's still funny to this day. And I have black friends. I showed that to them and they thought it was funny. This was just a few months ago. So
Yeah.
not everybody has fallen into that mindset. Well, it's not socially acceptable, so it's not funny. Comedy is just comedy. There's a huge, thick line between humor and actual hate. You
It's
know,
it it's kind of like these people that attack R-rated films. And I'm talking about mainly some of these church groups that attack R-rated films. When they do that, and I love this movie, by the way, but I'm going to say it. The Passion of the Christ. Love the movie, but it came so close to an NC-17. It's not even funny.
yeah, it did. It was a graphic film.
Yep. I throw that in their friggin' faces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was acceptable all because of the subject matter.
Yeah. But
Oh,
I mean,
because
I could wear that on my shirt at a horror film con and fit right in, you know?
yeah.
Yep.
Um I mean, and this just popped in my head, but like growing up, one of my favorite horror anthologies was Tales from the Hood.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie dealt with racism and the things that white people say behind black people, and back behind their backs and all that stuff. And um, the movie, it was a positive, for the most part, a positive experience. It was a horror movie, but it had a message to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not sure if they could make that movie again in today's world. Like, yes, they have two other ones. They have part two. Keith David plays the devil in part two.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Tony Todd is in part three. But part two was okay for the most part, but part three was very neutered, in my opinion. I did not like part three at all. But there's just so much that if you tried to remake in today's world, you have to change it. And another thing, other than this whole fear of making racist jokes or homophobic jokes or anything like that, other than that fear, there's also this push in the States to where we don't want to sexualize women anymore. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
You don't see that much nudity in horror movies anymore. You don't see that much cleavage. Women just aren't sex objects anymore. And it's like, goddamn, like this is what the male audience wants. And I don't think the female audience minds for the most part. You don't have to cover up the women. So I don't know. And do you remember the Friday the 13th remake? It came out in 2009.
Yep.
That movie had more fucking titties in it than it even did violence and gore.
I had the woman that was in the sleeping bag being burned. I had her on the
Uh,
show here.
she showed her titties too.
Yep.
Yeah, in the beginning. Was she the one that was showing her titties as the other guys was getting high in the very beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, those are some goddamn nice titties. But I commend women who show nudity in movies. Like you have it, flaunt it, and make money off of it. And I do. I have a tremendous amount of respect for strippers. And I know a lot of people say, oh, they're being hussies and they're being sluts and they shouldn't do that kind of shit. Why? Because they can do something that you can't. That's the only thing it is. It's in the closet jealousy at the end of the day. That's all it fucking is.
Another thing too that I don't like, and again, this is gonna be controversy for me to say, but I'm gonna say it. I liked the movie Us, the Jordan Peele movie. I liked it. He's a guy that deals with a lot of black subject matters, and
Mhm.
but what I liked about Us, the family in it could have been any race at all. It just happened that they're black. And it didn't distract me. I still was able to get lost in the movie and enjoy it.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm tired of is every movie now has to have a gay character, has to
Yep.
have a black character, have to have this character, have to have that
Has
character.
to have some goddamn interracial shit going on in it. Yeah, every
And
fucking movie. Yeah, you're right.
it stands out like a sore thumb to the point where it's distracting and it's
I mean, and all of our characters that we grew up with, they're all being blackwashed.
yep. Well, I
Like
heard
look,
they're
look,
now making a black, what is it, Black Little Mermaid? Is that
yeah,
what they're
Black
doing?
Little Mermaid, a Black Velma, that new HBO Max series, Velma. They made Velma black from Scooby Doo.
Oh, you see, this is why I'm getting fucking tired of. And of course, if you say something, they call you a racist. They can fuck off.
Yeah, I don't care either.
They can fuck off.
Well,
You
here's the
know,
thing also. Oh God, do you and if it happened the other way around, then everyone else would be having their panties in a bunch about it. But do you remember Spawn?
yep. I
Do you
saw that movie in
remember?
the
Okay,
theater.
yeah. So in the comics and in the animated series, Al Simmons' best friend Terry, who married Al's wife after Al Simmons died, Terry is black in the comics and in the animated series. But when they made the live action movie, they made Terry white. And and even back then, when I was a kid watching that movie, I even thought to myself, this is not right. Like this character
I
is,
didn't know that, so
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And it's so what I'm saying is like I wouldn't be pissy if from white to black, I would be also pissed off if they were changing characters from black to white. But hey, they wouldn't do that in
There
today's
is sometimes it can work. I'll give you an example where it worked. The Nutty Professor. I don't think it was about race when Eddie Murphy played the Sherman Klump girl. I don't think it had anything to do with that. I think it was Eddie Murphy's a fucking hilarious comedian. And I'll be frank, between the two, I think Eddie Murphy's version of the Nutty Professor is not only better than Jerry Lewis's, I think it's funnier, and it also deals with some very complex themes as well.
yeah.
And I find you can identify more with Murphy's Sherman Klump. That movie
Wait,
was not about race at
I,
all.
I didn't even know this. The Nutty Professor is a remake.
Yeah, Jerry Lewis did it back in the 60s, but his character wasn't overweight.
I
And
did
I
not
never
know
got
that.
Well,
I
here's the thing.
never knew.
When you look at Eddie Murphy's professor, it's easy to see why he's a professor because he's brilliant, he's smart, but he's also got compassion. Uh, you know, he just happens to have a weight issue. Jerry Lewis's character never had a weight issue. It's just about I never understood why he was hired because he'd be one of these goofy characters where he'd have alarm clocks or whatever, stopwatches going off in his pockets while he's in the dean's office or something. And I'm sitting here thinking, why is this guy teaching? Why is this guy here? He's an idiot, and I never understood that.
Oh, what happened here? Oh, there
I
I
don't
am.
know what happened there.
That was weird. You were on my screen for a second. What the fuck?
But nonetheless, I never understood that. And with him, all it was him getting a potion and going out in the town and being a more relaxed around women version of himself. And then when the potion wears off, he's back to being the goofy scientist. Murphy's was a lot more complex than that, you know? Yeah, I'm not saying Jerry Lewis's version was bad, but I think Eddie Murphy's version was better. But the thing is, it had nothing to do with Eddie Murphy being black.
I, I have a quick
It's that
question.
they wanted to do something different. And
I,
of course, the makeup effects on him by Rick Baker are amazing. And Murphy playing all those characters around the table, massively amazing.
yeah, I have a
But
quick question.
you never think about the race thing because it wasn't about that.
Right, right. I have a quick question though. I heard a rumor because it does. Isn't there a scene where Professor Clump is watching that guy that did aerobics and wasn't his name Gene Simmons or something like
Yeah,
that? Well, I heard a rumor that Eddie Murphy played him
he
too.
did.
Did he?
Yep,
Jesus Christ, that's
yep,
great. And you would never know if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know because he,
yep.
he he almost painted himself kind of whiteface in a weird kind of way, like a little bit to play that character. Eddie Murphy is fantastic.
He
I
is.
we I have another podcast it's called Crossing the Streams. I do it with Paul
Oh
Rasso,
yeah, yep.
and we actually are doing an Eddie Murphy episode coming up here pretty soon. It's kind of, I don't know when you're dropping this episode, but it will probably be doing it in about a month or so from tonight. But
It'll be well this will be unlisted until I just put I don't know when it'll go public because um I release so many a month public. What I do, it'll be unlisted probably for some time, but what I do is I give you the link and you're allowed to put it up because that way it can get views on your end.
okay,
I do it that way because when I started doing this, my former station manager told me, she said, don't put them up all at once. Save some for a rainy day. Well, when lockdown hit, COVID became the rainy day because when I had no way of doing my show at the station, I had about 150 interviews in my backlog that I was
hmm.
still able to put up.
Okay,
So
got
there's a reason I do that. So none of my interviews from last year are public yet.
oh wow,
They're all unlisted, but there's interviews on that year that have a lot of views because the person I interviewed put it out there when I sent them
okay.
the link and I allowed them to do it.
Well, in that case, ladies and gentlemen, by the time you watch this episode publicly, check out my other podcast, Crossing the Streams with Cody and
Yeah.
Paul, and we'll have an Eddie Murphy episode up by that time. By the time you
I'll
see this,
gladly come on your show, if my schedule allows it, if I'm working at that time, I'll gladly come on your show.
yeah. I'm not positive yet. Or I think we're planning on covering the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy, Life, and possibly Harlem Nights. Those are some of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies. I do like the later ones, like the Nutty Professor and stuff like that. But I like his earlier stuff a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
His more R-rated stuff is a little bit more entertaining to me than the family stuff. But yeah, Eddie Murphy's fantastic. And you're right.
Yep.
Growing up, I never looked at it like, oh, I shouldn't like him. He's black. No, like there was not that mind setting at all. And
But even going back to Jordan Peele, when I watch Us, I'm never thinking about the fact, and I think it's great he makes movies for an African American audience, but he likes to deal with that subject matter. The thing with Jordan Peele, he knows how to write it so he's not shoving it down your throat, at least from my end.
right,
But I loved Us because it could have been any family,
right.
it just happened to be black.
And
I love that.
his movies, like, yes, right, it is more for a black audience, but it's also very accessible for any other audience as well.
Exactly. But now you get these movies now. Um, I'll tell you one of the most offensive I've seen was the 2019 Black Christmas. What a piece of garbage.
I
I
just
wanted
recently heard that there was a 2019 Black Christmas. I'm only aware of the one from the 70s and the one that came out in '06, I think.
the one from 74 is the only one you need to see. And of course the Dave McCrae, Bruce Dale, Indiegogo fan film called It's Me Billy, which is excellent. It's on YouTube. Check it out. But I love the original Black Christmas. But the Black Christmas from 2019, it was in name only, and it's basically a bunch of every guy in the movie is pretty much a womanizing prick, and these girls go off and fucking kill them all. Why? Because they're pricks. And I'm sitting there in this audience thinking, man, I want my money back.
So it was
I
woke
didn't
trash.
I didn't come to the movie theater to be insulted because I'm a white male. And that's another thing too. You're supposed to learn from the past.
This movie went to theaters?
Yeah, and it landed on my worst of the year list. A piece of shit.
Oh God.
But here's the thing. Um, you're supposed to learn from your past. You can't correct what was happening. You can improve your future, you know? So I'm getting tired of it being okay now to trash white men.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. But the same token, I'm a white guy and I don't think I'm guilty of a lot of the fucking shit that's being hurled at us,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I can't fucking stand it. You know, give us original black characters, and that's amazing. Give us original characters that's relatable no matter what their race are. But when you race swap characters, I can't stand that. Like I'm a Resident Evil fan. I do like the video games, but I also like the movies. I and When Netflix made that one season series that ended up getting canceled, and they hired, I think what was his name, Lance Reddick, to play Albert Wesker. I was just like, why? Like, Lance Reddick is, of course, a good actor. I wouldn't ever not watch something just because Lance Reddick was in it, but give him an original character to play. Don't have him play a character whose origins is he's a white German Nazi. That's what the Albert Wesker character from Resident Evil is. He's a white German Nazi, and now you have a black guy playing him. Make it a different character, please. But no, we're in this time period where everything is blackwashed, and I can't stand it sometimes.
Yep. And then you hear other things too, you know, like this is something else that drives me crazy. I didn't go see the movie Bros because apparently people behind the movie were saying, if you don't support this movie, you're homophobic.
Yeah, you're homophobic, right?
And here's the thing, I have the Birdcage here on Blu-ray. I love that movie. But yet, you know, when they start throwing that crap, I'm like, okay, I just won't go see your movie. Call me what you want.
Uh huh.
You either make a good movie or you don't. But if you go start throwing that shit around, yeah, I
I
won't go
mean,
see your movie.
e- e-
Or the
ever
woman,
since I'm sorry, ever since I was a kid, one of my favorite Freddy Krueger movies was the second one, Freddy's Revenge. And I always knew that it was kind of a gay horror film, but I never cared. I didn't feel like it made me gay if I liked the movie, and I didn't feel like I should feel guilty if I liked the movie. And now as an adult, I still like that movie.
oh, I like the film.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the scarier ones.
Yeah, Freddy
No,
is
Freddy's Dead was shit, but
the only Nightmare on Elm Street movie out of the original Robert Englund movies that I don't like is A Dream Child.
I actually, here's what I'm gonna say, and it's gonna go against everybody. I preferred Lisa Wilcox in Dream Child over Dream Master, and I'll tell you
Really?
why. Because I felt in Dream Master or Dream Child, her character developed a lot further, and she come to find out more about her inner self, and you know where I'm going with on that.
Yeah, she was more mature in Dream Child.
Yeah. Um,
But the movie, oh god, the movie is just it was piss poor made in my opinion. I don't there's nothing redeemable about the Dream Child.
but for
I don't
me,
know.
Freddy's Freddy's Dead was the one I couldn't stand.
See,
It's like, okay,
the reason I don't have a problem with Freddy's Dead is because that movie intentionally leaned into the slapstick and it was a comedy. You know, that movie, it was, you're right, it was nothing like the movies that came before it. It was, okay, we know we're not scary anymore. Let's just have a fun ride type of movie. But I agree with you. It's the weaker entry out of all of them. Um, and I don't know, but I just like it because it's weird and silly. And I like the soundtrack in it too. I like the songs that play throughout it.
here's a question I have. I mentioned some of my celebrity crushes, growing up, and of course, when you either get into girls early in school, you get crushes, or I never did that because I wasn't interested in girls in my early grades. But when I mentioned, first time I saw Kirsten Baker, excuse me, naked in Friday the 13th Part Two, were there any? What were some of your early crushes growing up?
Oh geez. I remember watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I always thought Sarah Michelle Gellar was very beautiful. And then was she in the Grudge? She was in the
You
Grudge,
know what? I got a story for you about that. This goes back to Black Christmas. One of the most cringy interviews I ever did.
right?
I interviewed Peter New, who was in one of the asylum scenes in Black Christmas 2006. And I had him on the show. And I asked him a question I've asked people before, um, about actresses, and I mean nothing by it. But he was in Scooby Doo Monsters Unleashed. And I asked him if Sarah Michelle Gellar was as beautiful in person as she appears on screen. And he goes, I'm not answering that. That's an inappropriate question. You wouldn't ask me that. No, I wouldn't ask you that. I'm fucking straight. But he made a big fucking thing about that. And I'm sorry, I'm not the first person, obviously you yourself. Sarah Michelle Gellar is beautiful.
I mean, you didn't ask him, hey, would you jerk off to the thought of Sarah Michelle? No, you just asked him if she was beautiful in person.
Yep.
The fuck? Why did he get his
And
panties all in a bunch about it?
yeah, that got fun. It got even more cringy when I made the mistake of asking him what the COVID situation was like in his area, and he told me, about he just go get his booster and whatnot. And I told him I had my first two shots, and I wasn't going to get my booster, and blah blah blah. And then he started to accuse me of uh, um, putting in danger people around me. And it's like fuck off, you know?
That's not even accurate. That is not accurate at all. Getting the vaccine, it doesn't stop you from being contagious to other people. It
Yeah,
doesn't. It only diminishes the symptoms for yourself. The
yeah,
vaccine doesn't stop you from getting COVID. You can still get COVID. You just won't get symptoms if you get the vaccine. And for most people, that doesn't mean you're not contagious. You're still fucking contagious to other people. I don't understand it. And it's the same thing here where I live. People always get on each other. Oh, you're vaccinated. Oh, you're not vaccinated. I don't give a fuck if any of my friends are or aren't.
hmm
I really don't. If I'm
But you
if
know what?
I'm if I'm that concerned about catching it from someone, I just won't invite people over to my house for a while. That's
Yeah.
all.
But I mean, Sarah Michelle Gellar's very attractive, and I guarantee you're gonna tell me you had a thing for her growing up, didn't you?
for a while. You know, I like I
And
said,
there's
I watched.
nothing offensive about that.
No, I mean, I think like it wasn't just her physical appearance that I liked. It was the fact that she was starring in things I enjoyed watching. You know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That was the closest thing, maybe other than the X Files, that you could get to horror television at the time
Hmm.
on cable television. You know, HBO had Tales from the Crypts and stuff like that, but you know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and X Files, those came on cable television networks. I think like Fox or something like that. I can't remember what uh, Buffy came on, but you know, so I thought she was a good looking girl, and you know, she like didn't she play in The Grudge too, the
Yep.
first one or the first and second one or something like that.
Yep.
So then it's like, oh, you know, she's playing in other things that I enjoy watching. Um, I can't remember. It was just for a little while, but I thought that Jennifer Love Hewitt was a really good looking girl, and the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies. Um, the girl who played in the scary movies, what was her name?
Oh, Anna Faris?
Yeah, I thought. Well, back then, not so much now, but back then, I thought she was a cute girl because she was
She's hilarious.
yeah, she was wacky and off the wall, and she
Hmm.
wasn't acting like a regular girl, and that's what I liked about it. She was starring in these movies that were so fucking insane. You know, but me personally, I never really stuck with celebrity crushes. I was more concerned about women in my actual life you know,
Hmm.
at that point. So no, you know, other than those very few examples, celebrity crushes weren't a big thing to me. And there was a couple because, like I said, I grew up as a wrestling fan, so I think I had more crushes on like female wrestlers or you know female on camera female stars, you know, more so than celebrities in movies or anything like that.
Yeah.
So like, you
There's a
know,
lot.
Sable was good looking back then, and
Hmm.
Trish Stratus. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I jerked my crippled little dick to the thought of Trish Stratus back then. Stacy Keebler, you know, so
One
you
of
know,
my favorites was Tori Wilson. I love Tori
yeah.
Wilson.
Didn't she marry the Undertaker, or am I thinking of
No,
someone?
that was Michelle McCool.
Oh yeah, Michelle McCool, not Tori Wilson, but yeah, Tori Wilson. Lita was really good
Oh,
back then.
Lita loved. Yes.
Yeah. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I mean, I was more because I wrestling, you know, wrestling doesn't have an off season. You can trust that it's going to be on every single week, and so that's what I was paying attention to more so than going to the movies all the time and you know watching stuff like that. But and then also back then we had this scrambler box, so we were like getting all the pay per view channels for free. You know, do you remember them days? I don't know if they have
Yep.
it in Canada, but damn,
Oh yeah.
I
Yep.
missed the day. I missed the days of a scrambler box. Those are nice to have. You just get all the fucking pay per view channels. So that's the way I was watching a lot of movies at that time.
It's funny. And I told this, I don't know who I talked to about this recently, but I've had a few people from wrestling on here, you know. Um,
We have,
well, I did a tribute to Rowdy Roddy Piper. I had Colt and I had Teal Piper on his daughter. I think Ariel Teal Piper is beautiful, you know, and I'm still in touch with her. Um, I've had Larry Zbyszko on here, which was really cool. Talked a
yeah,
lot about his showdown in Shea, a main event steel cage match in 1980. That was great. I've had James Ellsworth on here, who was great to talk to. I've had Princess Victoria on here 3 times. Um, she's been retired since 1984, but I reached out to her. I wanted to get Velvet McIntyre on because I was always a huge Velvet McIntyre fan, and Velvet McIntyre's got issues with her hearing.
mm,
And I ended up because Velvet manages the Facebook page for the two of them. And that's what turned me on to Princess Victoria. And I started watching her matches, and she don't hold back, you know. And so I've had her on. I've had who else did I have? Uh, Lisa Danielle, who was not only a wrestler, but she was one of Randy Savage's valets in Spider-Man. She's a wrestler. What else did I have from wrestling? I don't remember, but there's a lot of like I like wrestling mainly from the 70s and 80s, you know,
Mhm.
back when you knew it was predetermined, but you were able to buy into it. But I'm gonna tell you, I saw a match
Hey,
on
real quick, I gotta tell you this real quick because it you sounds like you haven't watched wrestling in a long time. Man, there is this new company. It's called AEW.
oh, I'm
God,
aware of it.
you have got to give it a chance. It feels like the old days. It's not this cartoony bullshit that WWE has been producing. It's gritty, it's violent, it's vulgar. I mean, they take the TV 14 rating as far as they fucking can on a lot of weeks. Like last night they just had a street fight, a tag team street fight with women, and these women got busted open and were bleeding all over the place. Like it was like, yeah, they let their women bleed on their products, which I think that's respectable. Like if the men can bleed, why can't the women bleed?
Oh,
Um,
Vince don't want the men to bleed anymore. You know how hard it is watching a fucking cage match where people talk about Bret Hart and Owen Hart having a great cage match. No, they didn't. You know how many times their head hit that cage and neither one of them were opened up?
yeah,
It kind of ruined the cage match to me, you know? If your head hits something that hard or sharp or a number of times, there's going to be blood, you know?
right.
But I'm going to tell you one match I saw, and I don't know how turned on you were by this match, but I, I'm going to tell you, I envied the guy. It was an intergender match. Jim Cornette, love Jim Cornette. I love listening to him talk about any of this stuff, you know.
Yeah, he has quite
But
the opinions.
oh yeah, but he was punishing Christy Hemme, and they sent her to the ring to have a tuxedo match against the big, sweaty, oily guy. And I think it's on YouTube if you want to look it up. But um,
Christy Hemme.
she comes to the ring dressed to the nines, looking stunning. Of course, it's Christy Hemming. Of course, she looks gorgeous. This guy comes down to the ring dressed like a slob in a tuxedo. There was one part of the match, like this poor girl, I don't she hit a sunset flip on him and she pulled number one, tighten your belt and your pants won't come down, but nonetheless, part of that predetermined thing. But she hit a sunset flip and she pulled his pants down. And he sits down on top of her so that her like right down on her breasts. And his ass was so big her face was like concealed like down underneath his nutsack practically.
Hmm.
And I don't think there was pinfalls, but she managed to kick out of it. And I don't know how she got that massive guy off the top of her, but I was like, fuck. I don't know how much weight that was on her. It was a funny friggin' match, though. I gotta say that. But
What
I
year was
remembered,
this?
huh?
What year was this?
I don't remember. All I kept thinking was, "Oh, gee, poor Christie's. He's coming down on top of her." She's lucky he sat down on her slowly because I could just imagine if he just kind of let drop down, Bonze dropped her, would have crushed her. But
What company was this?
I think it was TNA. I think.
That makes sense because Christy Hemme was the ring announcer for a while, the redhead, right?
Yeah,
I didn't even know she was doing intergender matches there for a while.
she did that one kind of as a punishment thing, you know.
I
But
remember I remember that controversy that happened with Austin Aries when she accidentally announced him the wrong way, and then he got up, backed her into a corner, and then got up on the turnbuckle and put his crotch right in her face. And then everybody on the internet, why'd you do that? That was so offensive and sexist. And it's like, come on, it wasn't that fucking bad.
well, okay, then if it's so offensive, then why don't they complain when one of the women does the stink face on one of the guys?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know.
You know, like that's
guys would enjoy that for the most
yeah,
part.
but that's what I find. I mean, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll complain about one thing, but but nonetheless, that was a funny match. But you know what? I do like the idea of the women having street fights and having rougher matches. You know, I'm not saying women should be abused, but I think it's cool. Like back in the day,
The
I
one
think.
the one rule in this so the owner of AEW, Tony Khan, he
Hmm.
had come out and said that the one thing that he won't do in AEW is he won't do intergender stuff. He's not okay with having men beating on women in his company. I think that's kind of silly because at the end of the day, it's all a show anyway. So what's it really fucking matter?
It depends on how you do it. Like Jim Cornette was saying, he's against intergender matches. And he said, "Yes, I know." He points out that he had some matches with Baby Doll. But he said, "Here's the thing." He said, "He's a manager." He said, "Of course he's going to get his ass whipped by the trained female wrestler." I get his point because watching China in matches against men and watching them hit her, it is kind of cringy,
Mm,
you know?
is it cringy when you're watching a traditional movie and a male villain hits a female? I mean, and if it is, that's kind of the whole point. You're supposed to be upset about that. You know what I
I
mean?
suppose. Yeah, I
It, it's
suppose.
it's kind of not that much different. It's just wrestling. It's done in front of a live audience and it's presented as if it's a sport. So then sometimes when people get upset, then they use the excuse, well, because it looks real, well, but just the other day you were saying it wasn't real because it's fake, wrestling supposedly fake and all that. And at the end of the day, wrestling's not that much different than a movie or a scripted TV show. The only difference is it's done in front of a live audience as if it's live theater. That's it.
But I
um
know back in the day, Wendy Richter did. I know there's at least three steel cage matches she did back in the 80s and 90s, you know? So she wasn't afraid to step into a steel cage. For a long time, you couldn't imagine a female doing a steel cage match.
right.
And I love the idea of women doing steel cage matches. But you
Do you
know,
remember
like
that match? Do you remember that match China had with Jeff Jarrett? I think it was called a housekeeping match or something like that.
I heard about it.
That was one of the. I mean, you could never do that in today's world because it was a very sexist like storyline. The basic thing was he told her to get back in the fucking kitchen where she belongs, and then they had this like street fight, but the all the weapons were like based around items you'd get in the kitchen or something like that. Housekeeping match. So it was pretty funny. Try to beat him. But I don't know, China, like she looked like she could take on a man. So that
Oh
was,
yeah.
it was
Well,
okay.
so does Beth Phoenix. Now
Yeah.
I would, but here's the thing: it depends again how you book it. Watching James Ellsworth get his ass kicked by Becky Lynch is funny to see. Or even with Beth Phoenix, I wouldn't have been against. Well, I think it would have been a great WrestleMania match watching her kick the shit out of Santino Marella. I think that would have been funny, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But and have some kind of a stipulation, you know.
Did you ever watch ECW?
I've watched a little bit, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't have
they
television. I've got my television set up to watch my Blu-rays, so I don't
uh
tune into a lot of it. But
because they really overdid it a lot with the intergender stuff in ECW. They would always have the females taking on the male. And yeah, it was a little like when you overdo it, then it's like it doesn't really have that flair to it anymore.
yeah. But I mean, a lot of times it depends, you know. Like a lot of it depends on what they're portraying. And some gimmick matches are fun. Like I said, the intergender. If you're gonna do an intergender match, to me, I hate to see the female lose, but you're not going to have a female go in there, one of these females go in there. It would really hurt your bottom line to have them go in there and beat your top star,
Yeah.
you know, and but having them go in there like like having Becky Lynch beat James Ellsworth, and James Ellsworth was all for it because he knew he was a comical character, or having Baby Doll beat Jim Cornette, or having what was it, Beth Phoenix beat Santino Marella. Stuff like that is really cool. I don't know who it was I saw. I was wondering when this was going to happen. They had a match I saw online. I saw this done with men, and again, I don't want to sound homophobic, but being straight, this is a bit cringeworthy, especially when somebody's hands are near your crotch. But I remember there was one match they had where it was a baby bottle match between Razor Ramon and 123 Kid, and at the end of it, 123 Kid got put in a diaper, and they threw powder on him and all this stuff, and that was cringy. But I'll give 123 Kid credit; he sold it.
Mhm.
And but
I never even heard of that match before.
they called a crybaby match. It was in one of the In Your House pay-per-views.
That was
Um,
it's cringy as when they would do all those kiss my foot matches. Like, come the fuck
well,
on.
I'm gonna tell you,
Shit.
I unless I'm having surgery on me, I don't like having a guy's hand down my crotch area, period. So, uh, good on 123 Kid and Razor Ramon for doing it. I would never have gone for it, but they did have one of those online where, and this would have been perfect for intergender. I forget who the guy was, but Luna Vachon beat this guy in a crybaby match. And the perfect thing about it was Luna Vachon, you knew she was going to kick the shit out of this scrawny bastard.
Right.
Yep. And God rest her, she's no longer with us. But stuff like that, where you're humiliating and humiliating the male, like you're not going to have Becky Lynch beat Brock Lesnar. I mean, that would be
Yeah.
bankrupt. That would bankrupt you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So in case somebody's saying I'm being sexist, no, it depends. Now you can't have Ronda Rousey go in there and beat the shit out of Triple H because you know what Ronda Rousey can do.
Yeah, especially with Triple H's heart issues lately, huh?
Hmm.
She
Yep.
could probably kill him.
Yep. Yep. But stuff like that. Um, so I'm interested in intergender match generally on the humiliation factor because I remember I had when I had James Ellsworth on here, I joked with him because not a lot of guys want to go in there and be beat by a female. But I said to him, I said, good on you for doing it. I said, if I was in the ring, I'd probably want to be beaten by the female too, you know?
Right.
But but he said that was the cards he was dealt, and he said he took it and went with it, and he said he had no regrets, you know. So it's like there you go. So yeah, I can see your point, and like I said, there's a lot of beautiful female wrestlers out there. I don't know who I would say is the hottest one. I know I always like Tori Wilson. I like Lita. Lita was just this whole hard edge, you know, and I love the red hair. Um, I gotta admit, I like Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair can wrestle, and she was able to take elements of her dad and not copy him, but make it her own. I love Charlotte Flair. She is terrific in the ring,
I
you
don't know.
know.
I've seen Charlotte Flair's nudes, and I don't know. She doesn't really have that good looking body.
I haven't seen her nudes,
Yeah,
but
her nudes leaked. What was that, 4 or 5 years ago or so? And she. You'd think she had better looking titties than what she has, and I don't know.
I never seen her nudes, you know. But I gotta say, I have a lot of respect for what she does in the ring, you know. I she's somebody I'd pay to go see in the ring, you know. But And of course, I remember I went to a wrestling in Fredericton here, back about 15 years ago. And this gave me goosebumps because I wasn't expecting it. Kelly was coming down to the ring for this multiple women's match. And she took her hand, she's doing this with everybody, but she took her hand and she caught me right there and rubbed it down my arm and to the tip of my fingers. I got goosebumps from that. Because I mean, Kelly was stunning,
Yeah.
and of course it wasn't just me. She did that with everybody, but it was nice.
Remember her first gimmick when she debuted on WWE's ECW and she was an exhibitionist, I think.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, she always was trying to take her clothes off. Good shit.
Mm.
But anyway, I have a question for you. What are some offensive things that you remember from wrestling? Like, what are some things that they have done in wrestling that you were just like, ugh, why'd you do that? You know, the
You want
Katie.
me to tell you something? I'm gonna give you some stuff that pissed me off. Number one, um, Montreal screw job aside, Shawn Michaels taking our Canadian flag, rubbing it on his crotch, spitting on it, stomping on it, thrusting his crotch on it,
He had his nose. He had it up his nose too.
up his nose, blew his nose on it. I wish he had I shouldn't say this,
Say it.
but I wish he had got mobbed
Yeah.
because he would have deserved it. Because if Bret Hart had done that to the American flag, they would have been calling for his fucking head.
Yeah. That's how it is. God forbid if you say anything about or do anything to an American flag. Can't even
The,
let it hit the ground or anything. That's
the
if you,
difference is Bret Hart had more class than that. But
yeah.
Shawn Michaels was such a shitbag, apparently, in the locker room. Although he might have won a lot in the ring, but he didn't win much outside the ring because Bret Hart beat the shit out of him and tore some of his hair out. Apparently, he got his ass whooped by not multiple, one Marine beat the living shit out of him,
Hmm.
and he lost his smile.
No.
I never liked that situation. And people have said to me, well, Sergeant Slaughter burned the American flag. That was scripted. And by the way, Sergeant Slaughter was told to do that by Vince. And Sergeant Slaughter, on a personal level, he was threatened for
Wait, wait,
playing
wait,
that.
wait, wait, wait. Was it the American flag or was it Hulk Hogan's flag? Because I think they changed
I
it at
don't
the
know.
last.
I
It
don't
was.
know. But
It wasn't the American. I remember that story because it at the last second they changed their mind and it wasn't the American flag that he burnt. It was Hulk Hogan's
well,
flag.
maybe it was, but Sergeant Slaughter was going by something he was scripted and told to do. Shawn Michaels, what he did with the Canadian flag, I'm sorry. You're being a fucking asshole, and you're lucky you made it out of there without getting the living shit beat out of you by every Canadian there. That was something that pissed me off. Another thing that pissed me off, WrestleMania 25. This irked me. I saw this in the theater and I nearly got up and walked out. I found this so fucking insulting. You had Chris Jericho in a handicap elimination match against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Rowdy Roddy Piper, and Jimmy Superfly Snuka. And Ric Flair was in the corner. And of course, at ringside was Mickey Rourke because they were promoting the wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting and Snuka gets eliminated first. And he was very limited what he could do because he was like 73 years old. Piper gave it his very best, in the ring. He got eliminated, and it came down to Jericho and Steamboat. I gotta say, Steamboat to me is one of the best in-ring workers, period. And he gave it to Jericho. But then Jericho won, beat Steamboat. And just to add insult to injury, he beats the crap out of Ric Flair. And then at the end of the match, he gets punched out by Mickey Rourke. He gets punched out by a fucking actor.
Yeah. Makes no sense.
It pissed me off because it was an insult to the legends. You know what it makes me want to do? It makes me want to take control of it. I couldn't do this, but I'd love to book it so that some guy come in and you know, I don't know, had a handicap elimination match against Shawn Michaels, The Rock, and Steve Austin, and have the one guy win. So see how they like it on that end.
Right.
You know, it pissed me off because uh, Snuka, Piper, and Steamboat were three of the pioneers of that first WrestleMania. You don't fucking do that. And it's not Chris Jericho's fault, but Chris Jericho losing that match wouldn't have hurt him.
Right. No, it wouldn't have.
The legend should have walked away with the win there. That pissed me off. I'm going to tell you something else that pissed me off. The WrestleMania 4 tournament. Now, to me, WrestleMania has never been as good as WrestleMania 3. That's the best WrestleMania I've ever seen is WrestleMania 3. WrestleMania 4 is one of the worst. They had that tournament for the title. And boy, did they fuck it. You had the brackets. You had Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. You had the Don the Magnificent Morocco versus Dino Bravo. You had Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Greg the Hammer Valentine. You had Randy Macho Man Savage versus the Natural Butch Reed. You had Bam Bam Bigelow versus the One Man Gang. Jake the Snake Roberts versus Ravishing Rick Rude. And then you had the beginning of the second round, you'd have Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant in a match that was nowhere near as exciting as the WrestleMania 3 bout. They did so much fucking wrong with that tournament.
Right.
To get things started, because Randy Savage ends up winning. And Vince just proves what an idiot he is. Okay, having Ted DiBiase go over Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I'm fine with, because DiBiase, he was probably the top heel at that WrestleMania. So having him go over Duggan, fine. Don Morocco beat Dino Bravo by disqualification. I probably would have had him do like a inside cradle move or something like that and get the win or something like that. Um, to make Morocco look stronger, but nonetheless, having DiBiase go to the second round against Don Morocco, I get. The next bracket I was pissed at. I like Greg the Hammer Valentine, don't get me wrong, but it should have been Ricky the Dragon Steamboat facing Randy Macho Man Savage in that second round because WrestleMania 3, one of the best matches I ever seen, where Steamboat takes the Intercontinental title off of Randy Savage. So if Randy Savage is going to win the World Heavyweight title in this tournament, shouldn't he face Steamboat in the second round? But
Right.
they had Steamboat hit a crossbody from the top rope on Valentine, and it rolls over. Valentine grabs the tights. Steamboat's out of the tournament, and it pissed me off because it's like they handheld Savage up until that last match, and Savage didn't need to have his handheld,
Right.
you know. But they should have had Steamboat go over Valentine. Savage did go over Butch Reed, but if Savage is going to win that belt, having him take on Steamboat, and Steamboat was all for this too, but since Vince is a fucking idiot, it didn't happen. Then you had the next fuck up. Um, One Man Gang goes over Bam Bam Bigelow by countout. I'm fine with that, except for how it was done. Bam Bam Bigelow's trying to get in the ring, and the fucking ref is counting while One Man Gang is preventing Bam Bam from entering. Stop fucking counting and warn One Man Gang. You don't keep counting. Like Bam Bam should have punched the ref out. What you do is you have the outside managers cause a distraction. Maybe one-man gang hits Bam Bam Bigelow with a steel chair and rolls under the bottom rope, and Bam Bam gets counted out without the referee seeing the chair shot. That would have worked. But here's something else. They had Jake the Snake Roberts versus Rick Rude go to a 15-minute draw. I'm like, how stupid is Vince? We could have had one-man gang versus Jake the Snake Roberts in the second round, which I wouldn't have minded seeing. Because Snake versus Roberts, they were, or Snake versus Rude was a feud that ended up happening, and Roberts beat Rude every night they fought. But I would have had Jake go over Rude to face one-man gang. Now, again, and then they had Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant go to a double DQ. I have a good idea. How about put the audience in suspense? How about having Hulk Hogan beat Andre the Giant like he did at WrestleMania 3? How about having Hulk Hogan beat Andre the Giant and give the audience the illusion that Hogan's going to win the tournament? How about that? So have Hogan win, Ted DiBiase beats Don Morocco like he did, and DiBiase's got to be flustered. He's got to face Hulk Hogan in the semifinals. What do we do? Because he beat Andre. What do we do? Then you have Savage Steamboat, who are both baby faces at that time. Have them have a back and forth battle. No elbow for Savage on this one because Steamboat's a face in this one. So is Savage. Maybe, a situation where a small package turns over. Savage gets the 3 count. Both go out winners, but Steamboat's out of the tournament. But you know what? Savage would have earned that title belt, as opposed to a match with Valentine where we're constantly reminded that Steamboat beat Savage the previous year because Valentine dominates the match with Savage. And it was horrible. And that's not Valentine's fault. It was dumb booking. I would have had Savage go over Steamboat. Maybe like a move reversal or something like that, small package turnover. But I would have had Steamboat go that first round and make it to the second. And then Savage, winning in the end would have been all that much better. And then you have one-man gang versus Jake the Snake Roberts, which I don't know why they didn't fucking go with. And I don't know if I would have had the gang pin Jake the Snake. Maybe Jake gets disqualified or something. Slick gets involved. And maybe Jake gets a snake out or something like that. But anyway, Jake's out. So here's you got for semifinals of my version. You have Hogan versus DiBiase, Savage versus Gang. Audience is obviously going to think Hogan's go great over DiBiase. I got a great idea. Have Hogan come in there. He dominates the match with DiBiase. Andre comes down, costs Hogan the match by count out. Audience is not ready for that.
Right.
DiBiase makes it to the finals. Savage did face one-man gang who got fucking by in the Vince's stupid version. And Gang got disqualified. So again, holding Savage's hand through it. I would have had Savage make it to face Gang as well. But I would have had Savage move out of the way and the Gang hits the corner and Savage maybe cradle move him or something like that. I would have had Savage get the pin. And Savage looks stronger. Then it comes down to DiBiase versus Randy Savage. And DiBiase wins it. Or not DiBiase, Randy Macho Man Savage wins it. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. My version's fucking better. Way fucking better.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff in old day WWF that was pure trash. So.
Here's another one. WrestleMania 9. Bret Hart takes a loss to Yokozuna. Hulk Hogan rushes in. You know that story.
Yeah, and he beats Yokozuna, right?
Yeah. You want me to tell you what I would have done?
Sure.
Who after Hogan faces Andre the Giant, and he's faced guys like King Kong Bundy and Big John Studd. He's faced big guys before. Who wouldn't want to see Hulk Hogan versus Yokozuna? But here's what I would have done. You had Hulk Hogan in that friggin' tag match, him and Beefcake against DiBiase and IRS. What I would have done is I would have had Hulk Hogan prior to WrestleMania challenge the winner between Hart and Yokozuna and have it be booked that he'll face the winner. What I would have done too, because Hogan and Beefcake lost by DQ, I probably would have had Beefcake get pinned, maybe get hit with that briefcase by IRS, but have Money Inc. win that by pin. But nonetheless, after I would have had Hart versus Yokozuna happen either before that match or after that match. Have Hart lose, because then you got Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect versus Lex Luger. You got Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez. Then you can have Hogan versus Yokozuna. Maybe Yokozuna is a little more rested, and maybe they could have a great confrontation. What do you think, Cody? Is that not a better version?
Yeah, that would definitely have been better.
But since Vince is an idiot, I don't care who says he's not a genius. He's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
There's
I
all kinds of stuff
like I
like
said, ever since I started watching AEW, it's like, man, this is what I've been missing in wrestling for years upon years. Just all the only thing that you ever been exposed to for the most part is WWE. I mean, yeah, TNA was a thing, but they wasn't on as big of a scale.
another thing too. I'm sorry, but Sting would never have lost to Triple H either if it hadn't been up to me.
Oh yeah, WrestleMania, what was it, 32 or something like that?
Another thing too. Okay, Undertaker streak would never have been broken, but okay.
Why Brock Lesnar? You know, like
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna give it to them because who else could do it? Okay, Brock beats them.
it should have been a newer guy. It should not have been Brock
Well,
Lesnar.
I'm gonna give it to them. Here's where it goes wrong, and this is where the damage happens. They had him fucking lose to Roman Reigns. Now the streak was just shit on. Having him lose once is one thing. Now they had him lose twice. Now they had Giant Gonzalez get disqualified against Undertaker. A great idea. You can make Roman Reigns still look good without him being pinned. Maybe have him get counted out or DQ'd. Undertaker's streak. He'll still have the one loss, but I think having him lose the second one was damaging.
I totally forgot they had him lose 2 years in a row.
No, it wasn't 2 years in a row because
No?
he beat Bray Wyatt in there, and he beat Shane McMahon in there,
Oh.
and then he lost to Roman Reigns. I would never have had him lose to Roman Reigns by pinfall like that.
What year was that?
I don't know, but now it's like I could have lived with Brock beating him, but now they have Roman Reigns beat him. And I'm like, why not have Roman Reigns? He can still look strong. You don't want Roman Reigns to lose? Well, how about have him get DQ'd or get counted out?
Hmm.
Or if worse comes to worse, maybe a time limit draw if you really want to. Of course, that means neither guy wins, but still, would have still been, one guy beat him at WrestleMania. stuff like that. I could do a lot. WrestleMania 1, for example, you had a friggin' double DQ between David Sammartino and Brutus Beefcake. I have a great idea. Why a double DQ? How about making a tag team match? Have a David Sammartino and Bruno Sammartino versus Brutus Beefcake and Luscious Johnny Valiant, his manager. Have Bruno and David go over. You could have Johnny Valiant take the fall and have the Sammartinos, father and son, win the match. Bruno, to me, is the greatest champion they ever had anyway. I don't care who says regardless. That's what I would have done there. And I would have made the main event a 6-man tag event. Hulk Hogan, Mr. T. Why have Jimmy Snuka on the outside? Put him as the third guy, and then have Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, and take their third guy who was on the outside, Cowboy Bob Orton, make it a 6-man tag. If you're not going to do that, then have Snuka versus Orton in a match. Because Snuka was a huge deal at that time. So they're reduced to these outside roles, I would have had them either in a single match against each other and give Snuka the win, or have it be a 6-man tag.
I tell you what, man, like I ain't never gonna go back to watching WWE. I like, even if AEW fails, I'll just stop watching wrestling. I am not going back to WWE, especially now that the things that you know about Vince McMahon and all the shit he's done, and now he's coming back to try to sell the company possibly to Saudi Arabia, and it's like, oh my god, if that happens, like how many people in America really are going to be like, oh, I still want to watch WWE, even though Saudi Arabia owns it?
And
Like,
Vince has this big hard on for big wrestlers. I'm sorry. I think a lot of the smaller guys are better wrestlers. Like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is, to me, one of the greatest. For hardcore wrestling, I like Terry Funk, especially the stuff he does in Japan. You know, I like Roddy Piper. I like Jake the Snake. I liked all kinds of those old time wrestlers, back in the day. But they got into storylines that you could get behind, and feuds lasted longer too. Now a feud is like a sniff and a cough, and then it's on to the next thing.
yeah.
They got too many events. Too many events. They should have the 4. You have your Royal Rumble in winter, WrestleMania in spring, SummerSlam in summer, Survivor Series in fall.
Yeah.
You don't need an event every fucking weekend. You want to do something every weekend? Have Saturday night's main event. Those are fun.
Yeah.
Like wrestling just frustrates me what they did with it.
And like I said, that's why you need to give it a chance to AEW. It is everything that you miss about professional wrestling. It really is. It's nothing like WWE. Nothing like them, how they are now. It feels like late 90s, early 2000s, gritty, coherent storytelling, feuds that last for a while, bloody matches. Dialogue that oh, your breath stinks, your breath smells like cockadoodle boogie boogie poopy. Let me fight you. Know they actually have fucking dialogue that you can relate to, where they're
Here's
actually
the thing
selling
too.
themselves.
Terry Funk once said, "You might not believe in wrestling. You might not believe wrestling's real, but you sure will believe I'm real." I love that attitude. Or you get guys like Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. I remember when they had their big feuds, they would have you in the palm of their hands with their promos long before they hit the ring,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it was just great stuff. And Dusty Rhodes was one of those big guys who could actually wrestle and he could move in the ring, you know? Another thing too with Vince, don't give people gimmicks to fail. Terry Taylor was a good worker. And then they saddled him with the Red Rooster gimmick.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why not give somebody a gimmick where you think they're going to succeed? What's the point?
Right. I don't know.
Like, what's the friggin' point?
It's like throughout the years, maybe except for the Attitude Era for a little while there, Vince McMahon only cared about the main event scene and everything undercard, middle card. It was just all a joke.
Well, a lot of the main event guys, like I know a lot of people like The Rock, but I don't think The Rock is a great wrestler. He's a great entertainer. But I'll watch a lot of the stuff in Japan, like Ricky Steamboat, Terry Funk, you know, Kurt Hennig, people like that. They could put on a match, have lots of moves, and make it entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, like watching. It's another thing too, and this is one of the great things about the internet. It unveils all of Vince's lies. I remember for years he tried to say that Hulk Hogan was the first one to slam Andre the Giant. No, Antonio Inoki and Harley Race did it back in the 70s.
Yeah, he whatever he could market towards his own company, that's all that mattered to him.
Mm-hmm. And Harley Race and Antonio Inoki did it without the steroids.
Right.
Yep. Yep. So I don't get it. That's my take with wrestling. One of the things I wanted to ask you about was the con scene. I love going to conventions. Lisa Langlois from class of 1984 was on my show, and she invited me to my first con. That was Horrorama in Toronto, and it was a nice eye-opening experience. And I assisted her not only that year but last year at her table. She and I remained friends,
Mm-hmm.
and she showed me different ways to increase my brand, like get business cards done up and this and that. And because of her, I'm a lot better at this than I was. And I've had some great experiences meeting a variety. I haven't had any bad experience yet, knock on wood,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope to keep it that way. But talk about some of the experiences you had at the any of the cons.
Well, it's funny because like when you brought up Lisa Wilcox earlier, she was one of the bad experiences that I had. I don't know if she was just in a bad mood or what, but she was not very nice. I met her. This was back in the late 2000s, and it wasn't a big con. I think it was called like Dark Xmas or something. It was like a really weird Northeast convention that was kind of smaller. Maybe that had something to do with it because she wasn't making that much money. But I don't know. I went up to talk to her, and you expect these people to at least have a little bit of a conversation with you, and she talked to me for like a minute, and then she's like, "Well, you want to buy anything? If not, you got to keep it going." And it's like, what? Like, so I was like, no, no thanks. And I just, you know, I'm kind of glad that like that experience never like tainted my view of Dream Master because I do really like that movie. I don't know. I don't know if she was just having a bad day or what. Other
Tommy Kovac from Splat from the Past podcast, he mentioned he had a bad experience with her too. I've had her on the podcast here back in 2016, and that was the only time I ever talked to her. I never met her. I hope I have a good experience if I do meet her. But,
how was she on the podcast?
huh?
How was she on the
Oh, she was
podcast?
great. She was my first Elm Street interview and my first on Skype at the time because her phone line wasn't the best.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, she was great. You go into my 2016 playlist, the interview's there, but yeah. But what other experience? Did you have any other bad ones?
Um, None that I can think of off the top of my head. Most of them are pretty decent. Let's
Hmm.
see. I think it was 2006. I met Sid Haig, and
Oh yeah.
he was also at the same convention, but this was a lot more. It was a lot more of a popular convention at this time, and I met. He was super nice too, and there was actually another moment later on where he was walking through these doors at the same time I was going through these doors, and he stopped and held the door open for me, which, celebrity, they don't need to do that, but so he kind of showed that he had a very good heart at the time.
Hmm.
But when I met him, we talked for just a minute, and then he said, well, do you want me to put anything specific on your autograph, anything like that? And I said, yeah, to Cody, fuck your grandma, and that was the line from the beginning of House of 1,000 Corpses. And when I said that, everybody laughed. I had like, there's a bunch of people behind me, and he found it funny. He was like, all right, Dan, to Cody, fuck your grandma. So there was that. um let's see. In the late 2000s, I got to meet Tom Savini. It wasn't, I wouldn't have called it a bad experience, but Tom Savini is not very sociable as you would expect for him to be. So he was another one. He wasn't mean by any means. So, like,
Hmm.
he didn't make me feel rushed. He was just more so, oh, I had to initiate a topic conversation, and then he would speak and all that. So it wasn't bad or anything like that. And then the funny thing is, and then recently here in 2018, we went to a Dawn of the Dead convention, and it was at the Monroeville Mall, the actual mall where they shot the Dawn of the Dead.
Hmm.
And Tom Savini was there, and I got to meet him again. And again, I was a lot more prepared for how antisocial he is. So I felt that my second experience meeting him went a lot better.
Hmm.
And he took a picture with me that day too. So I wouldn't consider Tom Savini a bad experience. Uh, I also got to meet Tony Todd in the past, and
Okay.
Tony Todd was damn near drunk when I met him, but he was super nice. He ended up talking to me quite a bit, and he was asking me like, well, what do you do for work, and what do you do in your life, and we ended up getting on the subject of like if I ever had any horror movie ideas or anything like that. And I told him this idea that I had, and he just kept telling me, well, Cody, fucking write it then. Fucking write it. Like that shit. And it was funny because then, like, a few hours later, we were all downstairs in this basement area. There was a bar down there and food. And me and my friends were just down there just to get something to eat. I wasn't trying to like meet any celebrities down there. But he's down there drinking more, and he sees me, and he comes up to me, and he says again, he goes, Cody, don't make me tell you again. I told you to fucking write it, so you write it. So he was a character to meet. Um, I don't know. I've most of the people that I met Bruce Campbell in 2017. That was super quick because of how many people were there, but he was nice. He didn't, he didn't treat me as if I was a retard or anything like that. He understood that I was just physically disabled, so he was nice to meet. You couldn't take a picture with him though. He wasn't taking pictures with anybody.
Why?
It was a book signing. And that was the year his book came out, and it was like a book signing tour. So he came to the area that I close to an area that I live in, and I went to this Barnes and Noble place to get in line to meet him. Um, yeah, so I got an autograph on my book that I bought, and I got to talk to him for a few minutes, and that was really it. No big deal, I guess. Um, this upcoming March, I'm going to a convention that's going to have Art the Clown and the director Damien Leone. I'm going to meet them and take a picture with both.
I've interviewed David Howard Thornton.
Oh yeah, the Art the
Yeah.
Clown's the new slasher for everyone to get
Hmm.
into. And those movies are so super fucking gory, and it's great. Like, it's fantastic. That's the way that horror movie should be, in my opinion. Is a lot more gore. Um, but I also understand why psychological horror is awesome too. Um, I think that's about it. I've gone to a few horror conventions, but I haven't really had that many bad experiences. Like I said, I think just Lisa Wilcox sticks out. Um, Yeah, no, that's really about it. I don't know. I haven't really met anybody too big. I never got to meet Robert Englund or Kane Hodder or anything like that, unfortunately.
Well,
But
since you like the ladies, any female performers you met that just gave you butterflies or goosebumps?
yes, actually, just at the beginning of this year, I got to meet in AEW. She's called the Bunny, but her name's Allie. She was an Impact in TNA for a little bit. She was doing the Dark Alley gimmick in Impact for a little bit, but no, she had one of AEW's first female street fights, and she got busted open. It was New Year's Eve last year, and she was bleeding like crazy. And I wanted to meet her just to tell her how much I respected her as a human and as a performer to do that match. I mean, that match was fucking brutal. She took a split in thumbtacks. She got thumbtacks in the puss in that match, basically. And then she got choked out with barbed wire in that match too. So like that
Oh
match was
my.
yeah, that match was fucking brutal. And she's a horror movie fan too. So I took pictures with her. Actually, if you go on to my pictures on my Facebook, I posted it, a picture with her, and also took a picture with the New Age Outlaws that day too. They were super nice. Uh Billy Gunn is a little antisocial as well, but he's not mean or anything like that.
Hmm.
He's just kind of more of a keep it going, move it along type of guy. But like I said, not in a disrespectful type of way. Not like Lisa Wilcox. Um, so yeah, I've met quite a few wrestlers and horror movie actors and shit like that. Most of it good. Most of it good experiences.
Any other females that you wanted to meet that gave you goosebumps?
That I wanted to meet. I probably would have enjoyed meeting Stacy Keebler in the past when she was young, but never got to. Probably would have wanted to meet Lita, but no. I don't know. Like whenever I think of like, oh, who do I want to go out of my way to meet? It's not really like, oh, it's because this female's hot. It's just like, oh, I enjoy this actor, or anything like that. So
I'm just saying this because I know you have a way with the ladies. You're more successful with them than me. Of course, I'm not
mm,
trying anymore, but still.
right. Oh, you just got to be an asshole to the ladies sometimes. That's all. You
That's
gotta show them sometimes that you don't buy into the lady gimmick, because that's all it is. It's a gimmick. There ain't no such thing as a lady. These women, they just put on a mask and put on their gimmick for the outside world, and they're just as trashy and disgusting as the rest of us when they're in private. They take a shit just like the rest of us. They don't deserve no red carpet rolled out for them.
there you go.
So like when I'm getting to know a woman, I don't, come out and say it, but I let them know pretty quick, like, hey, I don't view you any better than myself. Like, I don't view you tip top, the best or anything like that. You're just a human being. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you want to get to know me or do you not? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to treat you like you are on a pedestal, because none of these women are. I don't care how hot they are, how nice their titties are, how much their vaginas can grab a hold of your penis. I don't care. They're just human beings. And that's what a lot it's that's what it's gotten me in a lot lives of a woman. Just I treat them, they can tell that I'm being myself, the same version of myself that I would be around my bros, and stuff like that. So for me, that's what's earned a lot of respect from the women that are in my life, that they can tell I'm not being fake with them, and I don't want them to be fake with me.
There you go. There
Yeah.
you go. You got any charities that you want to promote on here?
Nope, I don't do the charity thing. But
Okay.
if you guys want to share my GoFundMe, that would be fucking awesome.
Okay, talk about that on here.
Yeah, so I created it in 2017, but I update it every so often and I manage it. I manage it alone, so any donations that come right straight to me. I basically made it for the sole purpose that uh both my parents are addicts. My father is an alcoholic and a drug addict. My mom is a drug addict. That's not to say that they're bad people or anything like that, but because of their addictions, they are not able to help me out as much.
Hmm.
And as a disabled person, you kind of need help from your parents every so often.
Yeah.
Um, so I made a GoFundMe for the sole purpose of getting security for my future, getting money saved up for rainy day situations, emergency situations. Basically all the important stuff that you can think of. I do have money on a monthly basis for my normal bills and stuff like that. So it's not a GoFundMe that's for my bills or my utilities or anything like that. It's more for like if I need house repairs or if I need emergency equipment that I need to buy, or if I just want to pour a little money into my investment account that I have. It's all written out very good on my GoFundMe. I wrote out the entire description. It's all thoroughly explained. um it's the link to it is very simple. I don't know if you want to in
Go for it.
post. Yeah, in post later on, you can put it up on the screen or something for when you release this episode. But it's basically GoFundMe.com/help Cody out. Just as simple
Okay.
as that. Just GoFundMe.com/help Cody out. I got a picture of myself on there so you can see it's me. You can compare it with my actual like profile picture if you want to or whatever. But yeah, it's very genuine. I get a few friends that share it for me every so often. The Rabbit and Red crew shares it for me. Anthony shares the fuck out of it for me. I love that guy. Him and Mandy just share the hell out of my GoFundMe. They're constantly putting me over and talking very well about me, so I appreciate that. But no, it's really just my GoFundMe that I promote. To be completely honest, I am not in a position in life I can't really care much about charity. I can't really care. I hate to
I,
say it like this, but financially speaking, I can't care about other people's problems. I know that
I
sounds
wanted to
harsh.
ask. I wanted to ask I know I'm going to listen to the episode, but I'm going to ask it now. How badly did you flirt with Mandy during the hot seat episode?
Oh, I didn't flirt with her. I'm not into older women. I like women 18 to 28. No older than that.
Don't tell her that.
Oh, I think I did tell her that. I think I called her an old woman on the episode, I
Oh
think.
my goodness.
Yeah, well, she
No,
didn't
you
hear
could
me.
you could say that about Anthony. Don't say it about her.
Well, no, it's all right because she's half deaf and she didn't hear me anyway. So
Oh.
no, I mean Mandy, she's a good person,
Hmm.
and just looking at her on a Zoom call screen or anything like that, she doesn't. I think she's like 42 or 43, but she doesn't look. I thought she was in her mid 30s, honestly.
Oh gee, I mean, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, I think she's like 42, but yeah, I didn't know that. I thought she was close to Anthony's age, and he's like 31 or 32 or something like
I
that.
don't know.
So I'll give it to her. She's a pretty girl for her
Hmm.
age. But yeah, I've always liked the younger women, you know.
I'm same here. My celebrity crush is Emma Stone.
I mean, I'm fucking as of this recording, I'm 36 and the current girl that I'm fucking around with is like 21. So, I'm doing pretty good right now. Also the current girl doesn't have any kids. So, and that's a good thing too.
That's a
Man,
plus.
when you're disabled, if you can find a girl who is that younger, much younger than you, and doesn't have any kids, and she's okay with taking her clothes off for you, that's like I tell all my other friends, I'll never get anything better than what I have right now.
There
Never
you
have
go.
anything better. So, but I keep, I keep a good friendship going with these women. I'm lucky enough to have women in my life. I have some women who are friends with benefits, but they are still genuine friends. But then I have a lot more other female friends who are just friends, and I don't cross that line with. So for me, it's a healthy thing to have both. You know, I don't think I would want just all of my female friends I'm sticking my dick in. I don't think that would be something I would want. I like the good mixture of how it is.
Yeah. Well, you feel free to promote any web pages, your YouTube channel, uh, promote all of that stuff on here.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could just type in Crippled Cody on Facebook. You could probably find me through there. You can add me just as long as you're not butthurt over dark humor. I do post a lot of uh, I post a lot of memes with socially unacceptable jokes in it. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's just humor.
Hmm.
Whatever. So I have a Facebook. I also have a Twitch channel that sometimes I'll stream on. That's just twitch.tv/crippled Cody. I don't think I have anything else. Yeah, I think that's really it. I don't really get on all kinds of different things. I don't have a Snapchat or an Instagram or anything like that. I really just have a Facebook, and like I said, sometimes I'm on Twitch. I usually just play Mortal Kombat online on Twitch. Mortal Kombat's a pretty toxic environment when you're playing online, but I'm okay. Because again, people always say, well, how are you okay with what people say to you out of anger online? And it's like, I went through high school and getting bullied all those years. Like, this ain't nothing to me. Listen to these people. And my name on PSN, if anyone wants to add me on PSN, it's also just Crippled Cody with no spaces or anything like that. So yeah, when your name's Crippled Cody and you're playing online on on a competitive video game, that's the first someone gets angry with you, the first thing they're gonna say is something about your disability or something like that. So I just give it to I give them an easy way out right off the bat, and it's like I really don't care what they have to say.
I
You know,
love that about you, you know?
thank you.
Yep. Well, you know what? You're somebody to be admired, and I love the fact that you more or less just flip off any disadvantages people may see that you have. I love the fact you're enjoying life. I love the fact you're doing the cons, and you're doing the podcast. I think all of that's awesome. I'd be happy to come on Cody's hot seat sometime when if I'm available. I'd be why not?
Yeah, yeah, we'll have you on the hot seat one day soon.
Mm-hmm. So I appreciate having you come on here. I was glad we are able to do this. I didn't get called in the hospital. That was one thing I was on standby on. So I guess everything was covered there. But I don't know how long this interview is, but you know what? I love it. I'm, I think it's great. And when it's ready, I'll send it to you. Like I said, it'll be unlisted for a while, but you'll be allowed to post it. Feel free to post it. And like I said, I'll send you the link. And yeah,
All right. Well, yeah,
yeah.
it was a fun conversation. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, you know what? Next year, I'll put you on the roster to come on again.
All right.
Yeah, we
Sounds
can we
good.
can yeah, then we could dive in and talk about Anthony and Mandy.
Yeah. And by the way, just for the record, I'm pretty sure their last name is pronounced Calmino. I don't think it's how did you pronounce it?
Camano?
No, I don't
Oh,
think it's Camano.
I probably screwed that up because I never seen that last name before. It's like,
Yeah. I think it's
uh,
I think it's Calmino. I think that's how
okay.
you
My apologies to Anthony and Mandy, but
pronounce it.
wouldn't be the first time I screwed a name up. So
Nah, it's all
look,
right.
jeepers, I screwed yours up. I called you Cripple Cody, not Crippled Cody. So
Yeah,
I couldn't even
that's all
get
right.
that right.
You only missed one letter in my name.
There you go. There you go.
But yeah, one last time, gofundme.com/help Cody out. That's the most important thing that I want people to remember. I don't know if you do any post editing or anything, but maybe you could put that link up on the screen and when
I
you
don't know how to do that, but I will.
oh,
I'm going to try to remember to put the link on in the description on the thing. So,
okay. All right.
yep.
Yeah, that's about it. But yeah, I'll come back on in the future sometime and we'll get you on Raven and Red's network. I'm sure Mike will let you come back. I mean, you came on to Toxic Horror shows, so I'm sure you can come back on to other shows. So,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah. That was a lot of fun.
yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You have yourself a nice evening and keep being a champion, man.
I will. I'll be a crippled champion. I'll be proud of it.
You'll be a crippled champion, and you'll who's the bunny girl?
Her name's Allie.
Yeah, you'll win, Allie.
Yeah, no. I don't have a crush on her. I just respect her as a competitor, believe it or not.
Yeah, but you'll still win her because she'll end up respecting you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
All right, you take care, man.
All right, you too.
All right, bye.